In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is Blood Politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is Blood Politics.
What's up, everybody? What's going on? What's up? How's everybody doing? Appreciate you for joining me. Welcome back. How's everybody doing? You making it through the day all right, huh? You making it through all the craziness, all the nonsense, all the ridiculousness? Everybody's there with me. We're breathing. Cheers. Smoke them if you got them, right? Love you guys. Appreciate you for being here. Thank you for joining me. Again, my name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Hit that like button on the way in. Subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 20K. We've got a lot to discuss as usual tonight. We'll be going over the James Comey ridiculous ham sandwich seashell indictment. The 8647 that's been going around. We'll be talking about that as well. Obviously, the hypocrisy of past Republican statements by Donald Trump himself, in which the DOJ doesn't really seem too keen on investigating or going after. So obviously the fight, the degradation of the First Amendment is ongoing here by the Trump administration. Pete Hegseth getting just absolutely owned in his testimony in front of Congress today. We got a lot going on there from Ro Khanna, different people really giving it to Pete Hegseth. And Pete Hegseth not doing himself any favors, really, just none whatsoever, as they typically don't. Pam Bondi, the Marco Rubio, the list continues of people that have been put in front of Congress and have failed to answer questions, have failed to in any way give any insight or information that would ease the mind of the public, to put their mind at ease. We'll also be talking about Trump forgetting exactly what war he's talking about. He's now engaged in so many and he's promised to end so many that it's hard to keep track of them all. It really is hard to keep track of them all. But yeah, seemingly mixed up Ukraine and Iran. Either that, he's just an absolute moron and has absolutely no idea what he's talking about as it pertains to the Ukrainian military. But besides that, we'll also be taking a look at Jessica Tarlov. Had a pretty good moment on with the Five, detailing again the hypocrisy of the Republicans in the Trump administration, trying to blame Democrats and rhetoric coming from Democrats on the uptick in violence that we've seen, or at least that they're trying to point out. So we'll be taking a look at that. What else are we going to be taking a look at? Some Ukrainian updates from the front lines as well. Still having a problem with Tuapse, man. That Tuapse refinery just doesn't want to seem to go out. That fire will not burn out. Which is, again, something we'll be taking a look at and covering. And then some updates from Preston Stewart from the front lines, and a little bit some tactics changes a little bit from the Ukrainians. So lots to get into, lots to talk about. Some housekeeping notes, some show notes to get into as it pertains to Preston Stewart. As we talk about a lot, we show his videos a lot here to try to get updated on some of the information on Ukraine. Well, he's going to be joining us May 13th. I know we're a couple weeks out from that, but set it to your calendar, put it down, write it down, tell Siri on your cell phone, whatever you got to do. So I'm really honored, and it's going to be a great discussion, I have no doubt. But we're going to be talking to Preston Stewart on this Friday, 2 p.m. We'll be talking to Michael Fanone. Really happy and excited to be able to announce that once again. Last time I saw him was at the Dropkick Murphys show on St. Patrick's Day, but I think that was for about 13 and a half seconds, considering the crowd that was there and how many other people were there. So it'll be good to get a chance to talk to him, see what he's been up to, what he wants to talk about, what he wants to look at, what he thinks is important, what we should be calling out as well. And then we're going to be having Massachusetts House candidate Jack Richardson on the show. That's May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So stay tuned. We got some important things coming up, some exciting shows coming up, some people coming on to talk to us and gracing us with their presence. So it's at least worth a like, if not a subscription to the channel, right? So we're trying to get to 20K. As I said, lots of ways in which you guys can contribute. This is true independent media. No sponsors, no backers, no ads for you guys whatsoever. We don't charge for Substack, no content hidden behind a paywall, right? If you have eyes, ears, and can, bring up these social media sites, you'll be able to see my content. So again, I don't think it's right that you need to come out of pocket for any reason to see some important content, a beneficial piece of information that you should be able to hear. But all I ask for is if you have a Venmo, send a buck or two. Anything above beyond that is totally 100% up to you or your financial capabilities. There's the Patreon at patreon.com/Boston Brian. You can sign up for a YouTube membership just underneath me for less than a gallon of gas. And am I missing anything? Oh, the merch shop. You can get fantastic shirts like this. Stop pretending your racism is patriotism, and lots of shirts like it. Head over to bostonbrian.com. Check out the merch shop. Lots of great shirts and lots of great graphics and what do you call them? Images like this. I forgot the word for it. But anyway, we got a lot to dive into, lots to take care of. What do you say we say hi to the chat before I dive into the nonsense? You guys always deserve some screen time, right? You guys are the reason that we're here. Let's just be frank. So Roxanne, thank you for everything that you do. What's going on, Kyle? I see you over there on Twitch. What's up, Peter? How are you, Kelly? Hi, Tamra. What's up, Twiggy? What's up, Donald Schilling? How are you, my friend? What's going on, brother? Corrine, Allie. What's up, Jeff? What's up, Gamer, Flipper? The whole crowd's here tonight. I like it. What's up, BJ? We're raiding. Oh, thank you, BJ. I appreciate that. Everybody raiding in from other places. Thank you so much. If anybody's coming from Hal's show, I'm not sure if he's ended yet, but thank you and welcome to the Sparklers. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart from anybody coming over from any of the platforms, any of the sites, any of the accounts that you're coming over from. So thank you guys. What's up, Nina? What's up, Bob? Appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button on the way in, whatever platform that you're on. Hey, Corrine, how are you? What's up, Rox? What's going on, Tracy? Thank you to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, and Substack. That's the last one. So I appreciate you guys for watching wherever you're watching. Thank you for the raids. Thank you for the love. Lots to talk about, lots to discuss. All right, let's dive into it. Thank you to the chat. Salute to you guys. And again, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel on the way in or on the way out. Again, if you want to give me the opportunity, and the chance to see if you like what you're hearing, if you like what you're seeing, that makes sense as well. So, all right, let's dive into it. A little bit of this ridiculous, ham sandwich indictment that we have to talk about, for people that all the time are complaining about like the laws in England and shit, like how you can get in trouble for what you say on social media and how like, we should have, the ultimate free speech in this country. And they're like the constitutionalists, like they're absolute constitutionalists and they got to, it's by the word. Everything has to be by the word and, small government and don't tread on me. And you guys are all snowflakes on the left. Well, now all of a sudden, all of them are really, really happy to be able to indict somebody based off of a Twitter post. Again, James Comey being indicted based off a post where he took a picture of some seashells. In case you're not familiar with the situation, I'm sure a lot of you are. But, James Comey had took a picture of some seashells on a beach during one of his walks. I think it was in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, that said 8647. Posted that with a little caption next to it. And that's exactly what he's being indicted for. Again, the fact that the Constitution exists, the fact that we have the First Amendment in this country be damned, apparently, according to the right-wingers now, according to the GOP, according to the DOJ and Donald Trump's administration, they're just going to fucking might as well take a torch to that shit on it, use it for a wet wipe if you can, because it really has no meaning if we're going to start to do this bullshit. I mean, again, I'm no, James Comey supporter. I'm not here like as a stan. I'm not wearing James Comey socks or anything like that, right? In fact, you could point at, his involvement in with the FBI and bringing up Hillary Clinton's, the shit that went on with Hillary Clinton a bunch of times as a reason as to why Donald Trump got into the fucking presidency in the first place, right? So if you want to go back that much, but still, that doesn't really relate or have anything to do that we have a First Amendment and the fact that they're trying to, again, indict or have indicted him based off of a single social media post. Kash Patel trying to get everybody to believe that they've had agents on this for 9 or 10 months or something, when in fact, one can only assume that because of the actions the other night at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, they felt that they had the necessary, movement, right? They had the necessary fucking power now that they could utilize to bring this case. I mean, just my hypothetical, just my what I'm suspecting as far as that's concerned. But there's a couple of these clips that I want to go through. There's the statements here by Todd Blanche. I think there's one here by Kash Patel, and then we're going to go through some of the hypocrisy of people on the right that have posted similar things, if not the same exact thing in the past, and obviously some of the rhetoric coming from the GOP, Donald Trump. If we're really going to talk about incitement, if we're really going to talk about which side is perpetrating violence against the others, then let's have a fucking real conversation about it, and let's just not dilly-dally around the edges, because there's ample videos, there's ample clips, there's ample pieces of evidence that we could point to prove to you guys that it is still above and beyond anything else right-wing violence in the rhetoric coming from Donald Trump about erasing civilizations. I mean, just for a starter, as why we still see the levels of political violence that we do in this country. All right, so let's just take a look at a couple of these clips. This is again Todd Blanche basically announcing the indictment here. Says he confirms that James Comey is facing up to 20 years in prison following his indictment in the Eastern District of North Carolina. And of course, you can see here, right-wing MAGA chud here. Nick Sorter is more than happy, more than willing to support this, more than willing to defend this. Again, the same people that have no problem talking about England and the UK and the laws that they have over there, and how they're cracking down on what people post and shit like that. First people to call that out. First people to fucking bring that up. First people to call lefties and liberals and progressive snowflakes for jokes that they don't like. I mean, we've heard all of this nonsense and bullshit rhetoric before, but check this out. I mean, this is just it's farcical, really, at this moment in time, that they think that this has a chance to go anywhere. I mean, there are time and time again, these people get their hopes up on different prosecutions, whether it's Letitia James, the list is just pretty much endless at this point, the people they want to see locked up. And every single fucking time they're left there sitting impotent. Right? Matt Walsh brings this up all the time. Right-wing hack Matt Walsh, who just loves bashing on trans people, loves bashing on the LGBTQIA, marginalized, communities, people of color, the whole 9 yards. Even he brings up the fact that, unless you're going to bring these cases all the way to the end, unless we're going to actually see these people in handcuffs going to jail, like, stop bringing these fucking cases, because all it does, it gets everybody riled up, it gets everybody excited, and next thing you know, 2 to 3 weeks later, you find out that a judge somewhere is throwing it out because it's bullshit, right? You know what I mean? That's what even Matt Walsh says. So check out this clip here. Again, this is Todd Blanche giving his ridiculous announcement of this just, again, nonsensical hand sandwich indictment of James Comey.
Good afternoon. Today, a grand jury sitting in the Eastern District of North Carolina returned an indictment against James Comey on 2 counts. The first count is that on or about May 15th of last year, he knowingly and willfully making a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States.
Absolute fucking horseshit, right? I mean, come on. Anybody with 2 brain cells in their head that they could rub together knows what 86 means, okay? Knows what it stems from, knows how it's used. Right now, am I going to sit here and say that some of the people that have posted may have other intentions, may have other hopes from what they're posting as far as that's concerned? Of course, you'd be lying to yourself if you didn't admit that. But does that mean that you can prove without a shadow of a doubt, beyond any reasonable doubt, that somebody that post 8647 was knowingly or actively calling for the elimination of the person that is associated with that post? It's fucking asinine. Okay. Somebody that's worked in the restaurant business for a long time growing up knows exactly what 86 means. The removal, right? You could talk about 86 as impeachment, right? You can talk about 86 in a billion different ways. I know people are talking about it as it being mob related, but again, even in the mob relations, it was talking about getting somebody out, right? Removing somebody. Was it also used in terms for eliminating people? I'm sure. But is that the only use of that word? Is that something that can be, rightly compared and, a one-to-one line can be connected between those? Absolutely not. It's just fucking, it's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's nonsensical. It goes against everything that this country was founded off of, goes against everything that the First Amendment, stands to uphold. You know what I mean? It's just, that's not what the United States of America does. Okay. We have the legislation, we have the rules, the laws in place that allow people the freedoms to do things like that. And again, if it was, let's say if it was Twitter as a private company that had a problem or wanted to suspend him or wanted to give him, like, that's a whole different conversation. But that's not the government of the United States. That's not the DOJ bringing this case again and trying to say that this is actually going to go somewhere. Like, this is so comical on so many different levels. Again, to bring up the I'll bring it up a bunch of times, and I know I'm sorry to repeat myself, but the hypocrisy of these people that, again, call everybody on our side of the aisle snowflakes, that talk about how comedians can't go and tell jokes anymore because people are too fucking offended. It's always those liberals getting offended. It's always those people on the left getting offended at the jokes, right? How many times have they called out the UK for locking somebody up for doing something or saying something on social media? Like, it's so fucking stupid and asinine at this point. Like, it's almost beyond, it is beyond reason, but it's almost like there's no answer out there. It's almost like at this point, there's no bottom of the barrel. There is no pit that they're going to hit, like the bottom of the pit. It's just, they're going to do anything and try anything and say anything they possibly can until one of these cases stick, which again, none of them have. None of them have, for reasons just like this, because they're ridiculous.
Count 2. Same day, May 15th, 2025, that the defendant, James Comey, knowingly and willfully transmitting in interstate commerce a communication that contained a threat to kill the President of the United States. Both of these counts carry a maximum term of imprisonment of 10 years.
So again, that's Todd Blanche. Again, Donald Trump's former personal attorney. Let that one sink in for a moment. Again, on top of all the other nonsense, on top of all the other corruption, on top of all the other, associations between people that are supposed to be separated as far as branches of governments, as far as independent, branches of government are concerned. But, who the fuck cares about that again anymore now in 2026? But again, Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's former personal attorney, now interim leader of the DOJ, probably going to stay there for quite some time, considering his willingness to toe the party line, to kiss the ass of Donald Trump, to do and say whatever Donald Trump wants, right? To make these cases that Donald Trump has been dreaming about for years and years a reality, at least in indictment form, until, again, somebody recognizes this, a judge sees this and says, get the fuck out of here. Beat feet with this, right? Like, this is America, motherfucker. This ain't, I don't know what you're thinking about doing here, but there's no way that you can get me to believe or prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this is him knowingly calling for the elimination or inciting the elimination or anything like that. Okay, that's him basically showing his willingness or his hope for the removal of this president. And again, that could be by multiple fucking ways. We can sit here and list the ways until we're blue in the face. But again, there's a whole list of things underneath, elimination, as far as, what that could possibly mean or what people mean when they post that. It's asinine. And it keeps going too, because I don't know who this schmo is, but he decides to come in and act like a tough guy right behind Todd Blanche. What's this guy's name? Attorney Boyle. He looks like a fucking boil is what he does. Looks like a boil on somebody's ass, but he comes in hot and he tries to act like a tough guy. And I just figured we'd play a couple seconds of this just to show you the arrogance, right? The fucking, the morons that are in charge of this right now that think this is actually going to go somewhere. Check this out.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. Earlier today, a grand jury in the Eastern District of North Carolina returned a true bill indicting Mr. James Comey with committing 2 felonies. Count 1, he knowingly and willfully made a threat to kill and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States in violation of 18 U.S.C. 871A. Count 2, he knowingly and willfully transmitted in interstate and foreign commerce a communication that contained a threat to kill President Trump in violation of 18 U.S.C. 875C. Mr. Comey will be given every form of due process all citizens are entitled to receive, to include a trial by a jury of his peers. In the Eastern District of North Carolina, it doesn't matter who you are. We take all threat cases seriously and prosecute anyone who violates federal law.
See, I think that's where they're going to have the issue. I think that's where the issue lies. Where's the threat? How can you determine that that's an active threat associated with the president of the United? Like, there's just, it's, come on. What are we doing here? This is clearly for propaganda purposes. This is clearly for, the headlines, right? To send kind of a message to people that they're willing to go to these lengths. There's a message here from James Comey that we'll get to as well, kind of in response to all of this. But I mean, going back to this first post, I mean, this is another thing that we have to deal with as well, because there's people on the other side of the aisle that have no problem whatsoever, just really living within hypocrisy and nothing other than that. Because there's people like Andy Ogles. We can go on for days about Andy Ogles and his kind of depravity as well. But Comey weaponized his FBI to do truly evil things, he says. Send him to prison for a long time, which is, again, kind of a theme in all this. A lot of these people don't so much have a problem and know for sure that it's like the 8647 in seashells isn't what is going to stick, right? They don't care about that. They know it's not necessarily him threatening Donald Trump or anything like that. But what they do have a problem with is what James Comey has done or said against Donald Trump in the past. Right? Anytime that he's been an impediment or a roadblock or anything like that, that's what they do hate him for. That's what they do want to see him locked up for. And that's kind of a consistent through line. Not so much the seashells. We'll use that to our benefit. We'll use that, right, to our, for political expediency to get him inside of a courtroom, to get these headlines out there. But really what we're locking him up for, or what we want him locked up, is for like all of the things that he's done and said in the past that have hurt Donald Trump, or that they see have hurt the Republican Party in general. This is one posted by Midas Touch here. Let me throw this on the screen. This was kind of the let me see here. This was the DOJ's motion that they filed here. Trump's DOJ just filed what may be the most deranged written motion ever. It reads like a Truth Social post dictated by Trump himself. What an embarrassment. And if I don't know if you guys have seen this, but to have this be like an official DOJ motion, which was, again, just looks like it's copy and pasted right off of Donald Trump's Truth Social post here. Truth Social site. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger on the screen so you guys can see it a little better. Why? I don't understand this site and why it doesn't allow me to make the the pictures and stuff bigger. Like, does everything suck on Twitter now? I'm just curious. All right. Well, anyway, I'll read it to you. My apologies. Let me see if I can make it just a touch bigger, at least, for crying out loud. No, makes everything bigger but that. Let me go back here. Maybe this will work. How's that? All right, that'll work. And then you can see it a little better at least. So it says here, Defendants Rule 62-62.1 motion for indicative ruling dissolving the court's injunction. It says, quote, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, end quote, is a beautiful name. But even their name is fake. A fake is all caps. Okay. When's the last time you saw a DOJ filing a motion from the DOJ or anybody that had some sense of professionalism, attached to them, write in all capital letters inside of one of these motions? Just, last time, if you can pull one up, please let me know. Because when they added the words "in the United States" to the National Trust for Historic Preservation, it makes it sound like a governmental agency, which it is not. In fact, the United States refused to continue funding it in 2005 because they strongly disagreed with their mission and objectives. They are very bad for our country. And if you'll notice, country is capitalized. The C in country is capitalized. Who does that? Absolutely fucking nobody besides Donald Trump or one of his aides or one of his fucking bootlickers that decides to do his Truth Social post for him as he's reciting it. So another indication that this is straight from the typewriter of Donald Trump. They stop many projects that are worthy and hurt many others. In this case, they are trying to stop one that is vital to our national security and the safety of all presidents of the United States. both current and future, their families, staff, and cabinet members. They were asked by the United States military not to bring this suit because of the top secret nature of the important facility being built. They were shown detailed plans and assertions, and they were wrong. Oh, let's just see here. I think that goes on here. But I think you guys get the gist of the situation as far as this is concerned. Basically just taking the talking points of Donald Trump, taking the scriptures of Donald Trump off of Truth Social, putting them right into DOJ filings, because you know that, like I said, Todd Blanche being Donald Trump's former personal attorney, he's going to be the one most willing to do all of these things. But this goes on as well. Let me see. There was more that I wanted to get to as far as this is concerned. Let me see. Because there was the DOJ file, and I think they also had some of, was it this one? I think they also had some of Comey's statements on this that he had as well. But we'll go through some of these like bits of hypocrisy. Let me see if I can just find Comey's statements on this. Was it up or down? No, I forget. See what happens when you pull up so many of these goddamn clips and pieces of information? You get lost in the sauce here. Was it up? I didn't think it was up. Let's see here. Maybe this isn't even the one that I was talking about. But anyway, we get a bunch of other things that we could talk. Was it this one? No. Anyways, we'll just dive on. Oh, this is the original post by Comey, too, in case anybody hadn't seen it. This is like the 8647 in seashells. I think he says something along cool shell formation on my beach. I don't think that was the entirety of the post, but I could be wrong. But this is the post there, and there was one here of his statement that he put out. Thought I had that up here as well. Let me see. Yeah, I do. It's right here. It's right here. We'll get to it in a second. I have it pulled up somewhere else. All right, let's jump on here because there's this piece of information that people are rightly pulling up as well, because the hypocrisy coming from the right as far as rhetoric is concerned, and again, as far as this specific type of post is concerned, is pretty fucking apparent. When, again, you can bring up posts just like this from Jack Posobiec, 8646, talking about Joe Biden. We can talk about the incidents, to Barack Obama and the shootings into the White House and all the threats made to his life because of the things that Donald Trump either did or said, or because of the things that Republican politicians did or said. There's actual court filings and court records of people that have done these things that blame or put the blame somewhat on, Trump's rhetoric or the things that he said at rallies and stuff like that. So this is people asking, this is Jojo from Jersey asking, when does Jack Posobiec get indicted for this, right? And this is just, one piece of the puzzle, one of these things. There's this one as well, people rightly bringing up, which is the time that this guy, was this in Texas, if I'm not mistaken? No, it says Long Island, New York, where this guy had Joe Biden on the back of his pickup truck, basically hog-tied in the back. And this is a more clear picture of that posted by Mehdi Hassan. I think this might even be, is this the same exact truck? Let me see here. Let me see if I can go back to the other one. That looks like a dually. It's tough to see exactly on this one what the license plate says, or if this is another truck entirely. Doesn't look like you can see the dualies on this one, so it might be a different one. But anyway, regardless, it's irrelevant to the situation because this is the type of stuff that you see coming from Trump supporters, right, from the GOP, from right-wingers, from so-called conservatives, right, as they try to bring up, oh, my God, our butts are hurt so badly about the rhetoric and the things that you call Donald Trump. Don't call him a fascist. Don't call him an authoritarian. Well, it's like, well, actually bringing up pieces of evidence and facts to back that up. So it's like you're asking us not to live in reality, which is something that we're not going to do, which is a point that Jessica Tarlov makes on With the Five. But this is Donald Trump when asked about James Comey and the indictment. He was asked that directly. I don't know if it was by Caitlin Collins or another reporter, but this was his response to, again, James Comey's indictment and what he thought about that.
The people like Comey have created tremendous danger, I think, for politicians and others. Comey is a dirty cop. He's a very dirty cop. He cheated on the elections. He
cheated on the elections. I'm not really sure where he's going with that one. I mean, if he's going to reference any election swinging that James Comey did, again, it would be, his return and keep bringing up the, the situation with Hillary Clinton, which again had a huge impact on the election and whether or not people went to the polls at all, which allowed, a lot of people's beliefs, Donald Trump to take over the office of president. So again, the fact that he's saying that he affected some sort of election swinging, I'm not really sure where he's going with that
To
one.
help Hillary Clinton, as you know, he dismissed a lot of things that he should have proceeded with. I wasn't involved, but he should have proceeded with. No, he's a dirty cop. He's a crooked man, yeah.
Mr. President, you just described there's been disagreement between the U.S. and Keir Starmer on support for Iran. Did your visit with the Kings?
So I think there was another clip as well that came from that situation where he's also talking about that he does believe that James Comey was not only threatening him, but trying to incite some sort of violence in some sort of way as well. Just again, Donald Trump trying to use this situation for his political benefit. The man that is behind all of this, the man that has been for quite some time, for many years now, talking about locking up his political opponents, locking up anybody that disagreed with him in any way. Now requiring the people that work underneath him, in this case, Todd Blanche over at the DOJ, to go through with these bogus and bullshit cases. But we'll be following that as well. But as it pertains to the rhetoric specifically, like I said, Jessica Tarlov had a pretty good segment on with The Five, how she does this. I don't know how you could be sat next to Greg fucking Gutfeld and Jesse fucking Waters every night. Not to mention, if you look on the other side, it's going to be Kayleigh McEnany, or who's, I don't know who the other schmucks are that are on the show anymore, but just Jesse Waters, Greg Gutfeld, and Kayleigh McEnany would be enough for me to run to the fucking hills in the other direction. But she, again, is trying to bring the light onto where the problem actually lies. And this time talking about the Republican gaslighting on the violent rhetoric is ludicrous, as she states here in her post. She says, yes, Democrats called Donald Trump a threat to democracy. He still denies the 2020 election, and a lot of his party has gone along with it. There's a reason Republicans hide from reporters. They can't answer for Trump dancing on the graves of his political enemies or calling Democrats the enemy within, traitors, or the party of hate, evil, and Satan. And for those that actually care about the reality, the majority of political violence comes from the right. It's clear as day. So I just wanted to play this segment. Shout out to Jessica Tarlov for, again, being able to continuously be in this situation and put up with the bullshit that she definitely has to put up with from these morons that try to interrupt her at every opportunity to try to throw her off her rhythm. Just the lies, the propaganda, the bullshit that she has to fight through at this fucking, on this show is crazy. But here's just a quick segment here from Jessica Tarlov fighting back against the left is the huge problem. The majority of political violence stems from the left bullshit rhetoric that you hear and come from the right at this point. So let's just check this one out. Hit that like button if you would. I would really appreciate it if you gave me a thumbs up, if you subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 20,000 subscribers. I know we're a little bit of a ways off there, but again, if you don't shoot for the moon, what the hell is the point of having goals in the first place? So help us get there. It's a really easy thing to do. It doesn't cost you $1. It doesn't cost you a cent to subscribe. So feel free to do so on all of the major platforms that you're now watching on. So again, Jessica Tarlov, appreciate you. Let's take it away.
I just feel like this is a massive gaslighting scene. I mean, the Hakeem Jeffries comparison, I think, is so unfair. He's talking about redistricting. He's not talking about a human being. He's certainly not talking about a Republican. And you say Democrats went out and called Donald Trump a threat to democracy. Absolutely. The guy still does.
See, I love that. I mean, I love that part right there. Like standing on business, not backing down in the way that, some of the politicians that we've seen be questioned by mainstream media since the White House Correspondents' Dinner have backed down, haven't come out and put their foot down, haven't stood firm like this. Like, abso-fucking-lutely, they're calling him a threat to democracy. They wouldn't call him anything other than that because that's exactly what the fuck he is. Of course they're calling him a fascist. Look at the policies that he's trying to put in place. Look at the rhetoric and the shit that he said and continues to say. And it gets worse every single fucking day, right? Of course we're calling him an authoritarian. Same reason. Look at the shit that he's done. Look at the policies that he wants to put in place. Look at the shit that he said about people. You know what I mean? Like, at what point are we wrong? You know what I mean? Because you can't continuously come out here and say, and cry foul and say, it's a bad thing for us to continue to point out reality, facts, and what we're seeing with our own eyes. That's just not how we're going to fucking play. That's not what's going on here. Because of your incompetence, because of your lack of security, or even more nefarious things going on, you expect us to just sit back and not be able to say anything about the president, the government, or anything else? Not fucking happening. right? Not fucking happen, especially here on this show. I can tell you that much. But she goes on. This is a really good segment. She makes a bunch of good points here.
Doesn't accept the 2020 results, and a majority of the party doesn't, as a consequence of the fact that he continued to proliferate that lie. The language, part of the being the most important person, certainly in the country and arguably in the world, is that you have great responsibility to set the tone. And Republicans who are out there criticizing Democrats right now are the ones who run from reporters in the hallways when Donald Trump has done something absurd, like celebrate Rob Reiner's death, or say, you know, Bob Mueller, good riddance, whatever it is. And you say you can run through things Democrats have said. Donald Trump, enemy within, communists, Marxists, fascists, radical thugs, vermin, garbage, traitors, sick, party of hate, evil, and Satan. You're right about that data. It's disturbing. But the more important data to this is what's come out from Cato, which is where the violence is actually coming from, checking exactly the cause. There has been an uptick in left-wing violence. Absolutely, it is an issue. I want to solve it. But it's still more right-wing violence. And
not true.
It is true.
The studies are, a lot of them are rebuked.
Okay, well, the Cato one,
So again, this is what they do. They don't like when she's out there making too many consistent points, right? If she's out there making too many consecutive points, they start to get fucking antsy. They don't like the way it looks. They don't like the way it makes the Fuhrer look, so they inevitably have to interject and try to interrupt or say what she's saying is wrong, which again, she's prepared for because she's done this for quite some time. It's not her first rodeo sitting between these fucking clowns, I can tell you that much. So she's prepared for the pushback, and to a large degree, she does a good job at taking it and then kind of dishing it back out at the same time. But it's difficult when you're fighting, you know, 4 other people at a desk that have no clue what they're talking about and all have a specific agenda, and that's against you, and to just make it seem like you don't know what you're talking about and to try to overpower you, not let you get your facts out there. It's the same thing. So again, to give her credit for what she does here, it's definitely a really important position as well. Right? We all know how big Fox News is. We all know the propaganda arm of the Republican Party. We all know how it's used and abused as far as, you know, being utilized by Trump and his administration to get their propaganda and bullshit out there. So to have Jessica on there, at least at some point, on at least this show, pushing back and interjecting facts and giving you know, an alternative, like an opposition to what the hell everybody else on the channel is saying every single day consistently, is hugely important. So like I said, a lot of respect for her sitting in that seat still.
I actually read the debunking of the Cato one, and look at the classification of a 2009 shooting, for instance, which was allegedly, according to the debunking, about a complaint about dog pee, and doesn't mention that the guy had been posting on a neo-Nazi site. Everyone is going to go to their corners on this. It is regrettable, but the truth should still matter in it. And conveniently forgetting that liberals like President Obama, for instance, who had someone shoot into the White House where Sasha Obama was, got up to the second floor. Secret Service for like 5 days didn't even know what happened until someone discovered that there was glass remnants in there. We don't talk about that. Or the pipe bomber from 2018 who sent pipe bombs to Obama and Clinton, for instance, George Soros, et cetera, in court said motivated and radicalized by Trump. The responsibility lies with all of us, but it has to start at the top here. And I agree with Charlemagne that that discussion is one that Republicans should start taking a part in if there is any way to come back together in this country.
So number one, in terms of
And again, some great points made by her. I mean, if you're going to hold podcasters, if you're going to hold people on social media to a higher standard than, again, our elected officials, the president of the United States himself, even after looking at the evidence of what it's incited, of the stochastic terrorism that is absolutely been perpetuated by the GOP and by Donald Trump himself for years at this point in time. And we've seen results from that, right? Whether it's, you know, Nancy Pelosi's husband or any of the other attacks that we've seen, and the one that Jessica just mentioned there, where it was actually referenced in court documents that the guy did it based off of the rhetoric of Donald Trump, right? Based off of what he said, either at rallies, in the White House, during his campaigns, whatever it may be, that was in the court documents as being one of the reasons as to why this individual did what he did. So as far as Jessica pushing back, I think she did a fantastic job there. You know, you could tell by the way that only Kayleigh McEnany interrupted once, everybody else kind of stayed quiet, that, you know, you could tell that she was kind of spitting hot fire as far as that was concerned. But here is the message put out, the video message put out out by James Comey as far as, in response to what has been taking place in the obvious indictment that he's facing. This is posted by Midas. Let me throw this on the screen here. Start this from the beginning. And this was kind of his, like I said, video response to the whole thing. Let's see if we can play this.
Well, they're back. This time about a picture of seashells on a North Carolina beach a year ago. And this won't be the end of it. But nothing has changed with me. I'm still innocent. I'm still not afraid. And I still believe in the independent federal judiciary. So let's go. But it's really important that all of us remember this is not who we are as a country. This is not how the Department of Justice is supposed to be. And the good news is we get closer every day to restoring those values.
And I do believe that it's already been reported that he's filed a motion to dismiss. Again, any law experts in there, anybody that knows anything more about the judicial system, let me know. I do believe he's already filed a motion to dismiss. If I'm getting the verbiage wrong, then my apologies. I am no lawyer, you can be sure. But there's a ton of these things to go through as well. There's Kash Patel. We already talked about the Jack Posobiec 8646 that he had posted. There's things like this where Midas posted, I guess, Jeff Bezos is going to be indicted next because these are being sold on Amazon 8646 in different varieties, different little different designs that you can have as far as that's concerned. Let's see here. I think there was another one that I wanted to check out as well. Is it down here? Yeah, there's this one here. These posts by Trump that a lot of people are posting to. And again, this is just a small fraction of the pushback, the evidence of hypocrisy that we could look at in this case. Good to know these are all indictable offenses, says Midas. Hang them. George Washington would. Donald Trump re-truth. Then Donald Trump said himself, seditious behavior punishable by death. Again, if that's not a clear indication as to what he was instructing and what he wanted to see done, then I'm not sure what was in that, in those examples there. But there was a few instances that people are talking about. Those are just some of them. I think there was one here by Kash Patel. Yeah, he had a kind of a moment here where he tried to have a moment in the spotlight and look like a tough guy as well.
As you heard from the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney, former FBI Director James Comey has now been indicted for
Jesus Christ. Does he sound like he's about to pass out? Does it sound like he's been holding his breath for about 3.5 minutes at this point, and then somebody just asked him to give this press conference? Listen to him.
As you heard from the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney, former FBI Director James.
As you heard from the Attorney, can I breathe now? Like, Jesus Christ, is somebody choking this guy out in the corner? But again, we don't need to. He basically repeats the same thing that Todd Blanche says.
James Comey has now been indicted for 2 felony counts. While many of you may read this indictment and view this matter as a simple investigation, it is the farthest thing from that. Every single investigation this FBI and our partners at the Department of Justice undertake, especially those that involve the threats to...
Investigation. What is the investigatory work that went into figuring out this whole process, right? It was a fucking tweet. He deleted the tweet. What'd you have to do? You had to call Elon and say, hey, can we get a copy of that tweet he deleted at this fucking date and time? Like, that was the investigatory work done in this? Like, this was the 9 months of investigatory work? Like, I don't know. I forgot. I think this might be the clip here where he says they've been working on this for like 9 or 10 months. Like, what the fuck have you been doing with these? Like, is that not, misappropriation of resources as far as that's concerned? How many agents did you have on this exactly for 9 months to figure out a post about seashells? Like, what? Listen to this.
Harm or hurt or even kill individuals, whether they hold public office or civilians in our country, are met with the same measure of investigative prowess and tools and personnel in partnership with the Department of Justice as anyone else. As the U.S. Attorney indicated, James Comey will be afforded every matter of due process under the United States Constitution. And as the Attorney General indicated...
He does. He sounds fucking like lightheaded. Like, he sounds like he's about to faint. Like, yeah, James Comey he's going to be treated just like everybody else in the whole, as you heard, the district attorney. Like, what is happening?
This has been a case that's been investigated over the past 9, 10, 11 months.
9, 10, 11 months this has been investigated. A fucking tweet. A Twitter post. Investigated for the last 9, 10, 11 months by the fucking FBI. What? Come on. Or is it not more likely that, again, after the White House Correspondents' Dinner event, they've used that and the leverage they feel like they now have to go after people that are, in their minds, in their determination, asking or calling for the removal or elimination of the president. That's now why they feel like they have the power to do this. Is that not more likely? I'm just stating. And again, if there's any evidence to the contrary that this was something that was in the works before then, happy to see it and change my tune, but until now, that's what I'm going with. This came up basically after the White House Correspondents' Dinner of somebody that they tried to go after previously, failed in doing so, like they have every fucking time, and felt like they might have enough power, leverage, and control over not over the DOJ, but hopefully, the court system that has to handle this in order to get this to go forward, which again is not very likely.
These cases take time. Our investigators work methodically. Their
Investigators, I just can't. Please, what methodical work did they have to do? It was a fucking tweet about seashells that said 8647, right? We 86 corn. We 86 fucking mashed potatoes off a menu. You know what I mean? We 86 people out of clubs. You 86 a lot of shit. This whole thing is unreal at this point in time. You know what I mean? Come on. 9, 10, 11 months of investigatory work for a fucking tweet.
career agents, career prosecutors who work these matters, they call the balls and strikes in the field as they see fit pursuant to the facts of the case and the law. They took that information and made a presentment to a grand jury, a jury of peers in the district in which the alleged crime took place. And that grand jury spoke, and that grand jury returned a 2-count indictment against James Comey. As you heard from the Attorney General.
Jesus Christ. And again, that's Kash Patel trying to get his 2 minutes in the spotlight as far as that's concerned. But just everything about this is asinine. It's ridiculous. There's a very limited chance that, in fact, this goes anywhere, just much like the cases that they've brought against, Comey and a lot of other people, recently. But it's just, to say that you've been investigating a tweet for 9, 10, or 11 months is just it's not the flex that he thinks it is, right? Like, it's not giving this like alpha vibe flex that he thinks he's flexing on right now. Like, it just makes you look weak and pathetic and like a big fucking snowflake that you expended FBI resources for 11 months, you want us to believe, to figure out that James Comey posted a picture of seashells that had 8647 in it. Like, shut the fuck up. Oh, God. And again, speaking of people you want to shut the fuck up, let's dive into a couple of these clips here of Pete Hegseth, who had one hell of a day. I got to say, we brought it up this morning as we were doing the early show and kind of, what was taking place at the same time. I called that there was going to be a ton of clips that were going to come out of this, and I was absolutely correct. We got a few of these definitely to go through in no particular order whatsoever. We're just kind of, see if we can go through the nonsense and all of the lies and the bullshit that Pete Hegseth was caught in at this testimony here. Here's the first one. This is posted by Max Blumenthal. Says Pete Hegseth just accused U.S. troops of spreading falsehoods against him. Those service members accused Hegseth of moving them to a completely undefended location in Kuwait, where 6 U.S. soldiers were killed in retaliatory strikes by Iran. He's done. But what's going on here, you'll remember, I think we actually played this interview on the show where an anonymous U.S. soldier from the area that was stationed in the area was questioned on the defenses, or lack thereof, I should say, in the area around the bases, considering they knew that they were going to be, targets in retaliation by Iran. And that soldier went on to talk about the basically zero defensive structures or defensive, measures that have been taken to defend against the strikes, to defend the people, to defend the base itself. And Pete Hegseth is basically saying now that soldier and the people, the soldiers, I should say, that have been making this point are all lying. Right. So now going directly against what his own soldiers, his own military is saying about the defenses, or again, lack thereof, that were put in place. Here's just a quick clip where I think this is Pat Ryan kind of grills Pete Hegseth pretty good on this situation. Let's see if we can just dive into this clip real quick.
Maximize across the theater. Let's talk about what defenses they had. Prior to the attack, officers on the ground knew our troops were vulnerable. In fact, they requested additional force protection. Did they receive it?
wherever humanly possible, force protection and
not.
counter
I'll
UAS
save you
was
the
always
time.
made available.
They did not.
So again, he's either lying or again, the United States is not capable of supplying the defensive measures necessary and and that were requested by the soldiers on these bases. So there's only two options, right? Pete Hegseth is just directly lying about, the attempts that were made to defend these, to defend these bases against the Iranian attacks that were sure to come because they said that they were going to come if, in fact, the United States, with the partnership of Israel, decided to undertake the strikes inside of Iran. Iran made it very clear that not only the surrounding territories, but especially the territories that had U.S. bases stationed on them that were allowing the United States to conduct this war from those bases would become targets. So one would think as a mitigatory fucking resource, right? Just thinking tactically, you might send all of the necessary air defenses that you could possibly muster. So in this case, he either didn't do that, or again, they're unable, which is another huge fucking problem. We've talked about the limitations in stockpile that we've seen come from the war in Iran, and how, if anything else were to kick off as far as, a broad conflict, would be in some serious fucking trouble. Like, it's never a good thing when you're poaching, South Korean missiles. It's never a good thing when you're telling your European allies that they're not going to get these weapons shipments because of the amount of ammunition or munitions that we've expended in the Iran war and how long it's going to take us to, again, restock our stockpiles to an extent that we feel like we're now capable to fight, different battles if, in fact, that, those come to fruition. That's the whole point of the U.S. military, not that we just have enough for Iran, but in case China decides to kick off with Taiwan, or in case Kim Jong-un decides to kick off with South Korea, right? If we decide to, in fact, or have to get involved in the war in Ukraine, like, we have to be able to have the resources necessary to be able to do all these things, which is a huge talking point, a huge problem, as has been reported in the limitations and how much of the stockpile that we've gone through, whether it's the THAAD interceptors, whether it's the Patriot missile systems. All of these things that we have to now talk about, and that we're poaching from different parts of the planet, different places that we were supposed to be defending in order to keep our stockpiles at a sufficient level.
In fact, when asked to describe the base's defense, one survivor who's come forward from the unit said, quote, I would put it in the none category. From a drone defense capability, none.
And again, that's exactly what the soldier said. And when asked, what kind of defenses did you have in place? And he basically said, absolutely none. That would mitigate against these drones or missile attacks? Not a single thing that would have done that. And then Pete Hegseth here, forced to reckon with that soldier's statements, basically goes on to call the people that are fighting this war, the soldiers that have sacrificed and defended this, this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, liars.
So let's be clear, no counter drone capabilities, no counter rocket systems, no counter mortar or counter artillery, not even the basic overhead protection that you and I had 20 years ago in Iraq. And now 6 of our soldiers are dead. The next day, you downplayed the attack. You said it was a squirter that squeaked through fortified defenses. But since then, thankfully, brave survivors have come forward to set the record straight. One of our surviving soldiers told CBS, quote, painting a picture that one squeaked through is a falsehood. Another said the unit was, quote, unprepared to provide any defense for itself. It was not a fortified position.
Again, statements from soldiers stationed in the area that fly directly in the face of everything that we were told by Pete Hegseth, not just on this situation, not just on this specific targeting event, but on every basis, on every single possible fucking point of this Iran war so far. Pete Hegseth has been lying. Donald Trump has been lying. Anybody that's now involved in this, whether it's, Witkoff or, Jared Kushner, every single one of them has come out with, falsehoods at every turn.
Another survivor said the building's protection was about as weak as one gets. Secretary Hegseth, that is obviously in direct contradiction to what you said from the Pentagon podium the next day. So are you saying that these soldiers, our soldiers who survived this horrific attack, are lying?
What I'm saying is before the commencement of the conflict, we put in maximum defensive posture we could.
That's a direct
We moved
contradiction to
70
what they said.
in this directing. Can I speak, or are you just going to monologue falsehoods all over the place?
It's not a falsehood.
We moved 7,500 troops off of
Reclaiming
the X
my
based
time.
on the intel.
So basically, what Pete Hegseth said there is you're going to monologue falsehoods when in fact, all the representative did was recite and repeat, the comments, the words of the soldier in the interview that was directly asked about the defensive capabilities of that fucking base, right? So the fact that Pete Hegseth is saying that it's falsehoods is saying that whatever that soldier was saying is a lie, is wrong, is incorrect. Again, the people that were stationed there that know specifically about the capabilities, that specifically know about what capabilities they requested and either did or didn't receive in time to defend that base against these strikes.
Stop.
Based on the intel.
Stop. Reclaiming my time.
Because you yell doesn't
Are
make you right.
calling-
Just because you yell doesn't make you right.
I'm reclaiming my time on behalf of these survivors.
And there's the arrogance by every single one of these Trump administrators, every one of the secretaries that we've seen get in front of Congress and have to answer difficult questions. When they get pushed into the corner, you get shit like this, right? You get fucking stupid Trumpisms. You get the Pam Bondies pushing back. You get Joe Biden being called out. You get a bunch of fucking 2020 election bullshit being basically anything that they could push out there in response to make it seem like they didn't just sit and cower and shit their pants because of the questions that they were being asked. So that's another one. You can see the little coke jaw going on, right? He's trying to act like a big, strong, tough guy. And if this table wasn't here, my friend, if we weren't separated by microphones and tables, what I would do. Another fucking Mark Wayne Mullen over here, big, tough guy.
You just said what they said is a falsehood.
There's a much larger
that
picture.
true?
There's a much larger picture at play here that included integrated air defenses, bunkers, moving people off
Then
the
why,
X
Mr.
to
Secretary,
ensure
are
that they
they
were
dead?
not part of the.
And where in those plans did it say that we were going to have our soldiers work remotely from hotels? Where was that in the plans? Was that something that you guys really planned for? Was that in the plans there somewhere? Having our fucking soldiers work remotely from hotels in the areas because the bases were too hot and weren't properly defended? Is that often some of the mitigatory proposals that you make to people in the region? Just leave the base entirely. We'll put you up in the fucking Four Seasons. We'll put you up in the Hilton.
Target. We moved those troops and all across the theater, thousands of troops off the X, off of their bases, because we knew what Iran was going to try to strike, and we knew there could be a tragic moment. There could be a tragic moment where something could get.
Which again is only leaving one other possibility, that the United States either didn't in time recognize the impact, the dangers of the retaliations that were to come, or the United States is not capable. We do not have the capabilities. We do not have the defensive, capabilities to provide defenses to all of these bases in the area, right? That's like, there's no really ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no other way around it, right? So he's either directly lying about what he did as far as before this war took place and trying to, defend against the retaliations of Iran, against, to help defend the bases, to help defend against, obviously, the soldiers that are stationed there. Or again, we just don't have the capabilities. We don't have the resources, which again, each one of those is a fucking problem.
Through. Of course, that's the consequence of conflict. And we remember those 6 every single day.
I want to finish.
But don't play games with.
I'm not playing games. I want to finish with one more quote from a survivor of the attack. And I put this on the record. Telling the truth is important. And we're not going to learn from these mistakes if we pretend these mistakes didn't happen. Secretary Hegseth, those soldiers told the truth. Those soldiers are braver than you are.
I commend.
They are asking for accountability. They deserve accountability. And I'm asking for the same, starting with you. And as I said a year ago, you need to resign immediately.
I commend those
and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
Let's talk
So again, that was Dem Pat Ryan giving Pete Hegseth a grilling. There's a lot of moments and instances like that coming from this. There's one here from Ro Khanna. People are discussing as well. This is posted by Ed Krasenstein. We'll just dive into a couple minutes of this. Let's see what this ties into. Congressman Ro Khanna says, how much did it cost American taxpayers in terms of the strike on the school? Talking about the strike on the Manab Girls School there. And Pete Hegseth forced to answer for that as well. Let's see what he had to say in response to that question by, again, Ro Khanna.
How much did it cost American taxpayers in terms of the strike to the Iranian school where kids were killed? Do you have that number? In terms of the missiles we used?
as I've said, that unfortunate situation remains under investigation.
You don't know how much it
15-6
costs the
investigation, but I
taxpayer?
wouldn't tie
Yeah,
a
like
cost.
and like everybody expects, just like it's an under investigation all the time when Israel has to investigate one of their own or something that the IDF did. It's always completely and totally under investigation until everybody forgets about it, and next thing you know, they let them off. It doesn't matter what crime they committed. It doesn't matter if it was a war crime. It doesn't matter if it was a crime against humanity, a crime against a child, a crime against an innocent fucking civilian, whatever it is. It's always under investigation. It's going to be for from now until fucking eternity under investigation until these people are either out of office or have no ability to answer for the questions or answer for what they've done.
That to anything.
It's a reasonable question, no, sir? I mean, our taxpayer
Well, I should say they think they don't have the ability to answer for what they've done.
money was going there. Do you know how much it will cost Americans in terms of their
Oops, sorry.
increased cost in gas and food over the next year because of the Iran war?
I would simply ask you what the cost is of an Iranian nuclear bomb.
I'm going to give you that
I
opportunity.
would simply ask you what the.
Yeah,
You're
but
playing gotcha
sir,
questions
sir,
about
no, it's
domestic
not.
things. I'm not.
You're saying it's a gotcha question to ask what it's going to be in terms of the increased
Why
cost
won't
of
you
gas
answer what
and
it costs to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear
food?
bomb?
I give you that, sir. But let me.
What
you
would
can
it
just-
cost?
But again, I thought you already did that in Operation Midnight Hammer. Again, you see how there's no consistent through line to anything that these people say. They obliterated the nuclear capabilities of Iran in Operation Midnight Hammer, but also using the fact that they didn't obliterate the nuclear capabilities of Iran, and they didn't complete their, they still have ambitions, as I think the word that he says, as justification for getting into this war. So again, we had to escalate because apparently Operation Midnight Hammer didn't have the success that they said it had. So there's no two ways that you can have both success and obliteration of the nuclear facilities and, don't have to worry about that for another 10 to 15 years or ever again, as far as Donald Trump was saying. But now also using that as the justification for us getting involved in this war.
What would you pay to ensure Iran doesn't get?
And it's not a stupid question for Ro Khanna to ask, hey, do you know anything about the price of oil? Do you know anything about the price of gas? Do you know how much more it's costing American taxpayers because of the war that you enacted? Probably things that you might want to know about, like the impact to the economy, the detriment to the society that you're supposed to be working for. Is it going to be more beneficial or is it going to be more harmful? Like, these are things that you probably should have looked at before undertaking this. It doesn't seem like you have the appropriate answer. So again, good on Ro Khanna for making it seem like, and again, Pete Hegseth saying it's a gotcha question, that he knows what the American taxpayers are paying for and how much it's costing them is ridiculous. Just goes to show you his ignorance and incompetence.
Nuclear bomb.
Do you?
What would you pay?
I reclaim my time. Do you not know? You had no one do the analysis of what the increased cost of gas and food on the American people are going to be?
What is the cost
Let
of
me
Iran
give you
holding
the
that
number.
straight at
Let me
issue
give
with
you the
nuclear
number.
weapons?
It's $631 billion, which means it's an increase of $5,000 a year for American households. Now, let me give you this point. You're saying that your operation is preventing a nuclear Iran. Will you acknowledge that there is an economic cost to the American people for doing what you believe is necessary to make Iran denuclear? Will you acknowledge the economic cost?
We have an incredible economic team that's managing this better than.
So that's a no. No, he's not going to acknowledge the economic cost to the American people here. He's not going to acknowledge the harm that has been caused to the families in this fucking country. And again, an extra $5,000 a year added on is a big fucking chunk of change, especially to a lot of families, a lot of people that are struggling in this country. $5,000 could be very beneficial in other aspects of a lot of people's lives, as opposed to just getting fucking sucked and ripped out of their wallet because of this administration's stupidity.
Yeah, but
what the previous
but to
administration did to our
acknowledge that-
economy,
to acknowledge
what the
there's a
previous
cost.
administration
You-
did
you
with
don't even
inflation.
know what the.
And there you go with the Joe Biden, what about Kamala? What about the last and previous administration? Again, more than a year into Donald Trump's second term here. They have no answers. If they get backed into a corner and it's what about, it's Biden, it's Kamala, it's Hillary, it's anything but what they've been responsible for.
You know
What
what's
the previous
upsetting? I reclaim
administration
my
did with
time. You know,
COVID,
Secretary-
and you're going to
Secretary,
lecture this
I reclaim
administration
my
about
time,
the
sir.
economy?
You know what is upsetting? to me?
Incredible.
You didn't even do the.
And I'm sorry, Pete. Are you getting your timelines fucked up? Are you talking about COVID and who actually was responsible for that exploding and being completely out of control and all the lies that we were told about the humidity killing it, and it was never going to be more than 15 cases, and don't worry about this and don't worry about that. The sun's going to kill it. The bright light's going to kill it. Maybe if you fart twice and burp once, that'll kill it. Like all the bullshit that we were told. Pete Hegseth now and a lot of the Republicans, and a lot of people in general, seem to forget the timeline, seem to forget who was president when, right? Seem to forget the impacts of, Russia's invasion of Ukraine and what it had on gas prices. Seem to forget, COVID and the biggest disruption to the world economy that we've undoubtedly seen in any of our lifetimes, right? And what that did to the world economy, what that did to trade, oil prices, gas prices, everything at that point, just commodities in general. Like everybody seems to be quick to forget that. Like we always talk about the short memory span of people, but it seems to be coming into play more and more nowadays.
Analysis on how much it's costing the American people. It's one thing if you said, okay, it costs the American people $5,000, but we think it's worth it. That's what we've done in World War II and other wars. Here's what it costs. You got to pay for it. You don't even know.
Hawk on Twitch says, where did I leave my chlorine? Like, again, you guys remember all the fucking stupidness that we were told, right? And again, above and beyond just the well-known ones, like all the things that we've probably forgotten, even as people that were, and continue to be, involved in into all of this stuff. Again, the humidity, the light, the heat, the cold was going to do it. Everything was going to do it, but nothing did it. But it did, again, Pete Hegseth doesn't seem to remember his timeline as far as that's concerned.
What the average American is paying. You don't know what we paid in terms of the missiles that hit the Iranian school. You don't know what we're paying in terms of gas. You don't know what we're paying in terms of food. Your 25 billion number is totally off. It's the incompetence.
And Ro, I'm just going to say, it's going to be very difficult for Pete Hegseth to be prepared for this meeting. It's going to be very difficult for him to have answers to these questions when he spends most of his time flying around with fucking Kid Rock in military aircraft. It's not like he's studying on the fucking helicopters he's taking around with Kid Rock, right? It's not like, it's not like we're wasting taxpayer money even further above and beyond what you're talking about in this hearing here because of what he's doing with Kid Rock or the helicopters that were to fly around Kid Rock's house and did like the flyby. Because again, that's not like it's costing taxpayer money anything. No, it is. Oh, shit. Fuck.
It's the incompetence. Okay. Will you acknowledge that there were 970 pounds of uranium enriched after Trump tore up the JCPOA?
The JCPOA was a terrible deal that allowed Iran a path to a nuclear bomb.
You deal with vague platitudes. I'm asking you about numbers. Like you don't know what gas costs. You don't know what food costs. You don't know what the operation costs. I get sound bites, but how about numbers? Do you know how much the enriched uranium was after you ripped up the JCPOA? Trump did.
I'll give you a number. I know that, as was stated by early on, the price of gas is twice as expensive in California, your home state, as anywhere else in the country because of the horrible policy.
Again, you can see the retaliation here. You can see like the lashing out by these people when they don't have an answer, when they know they're looking like a fool. Right? When they know that they don't have that sound bite, that clip to get, they got to try to lash out. They got to, it's about California. It's about Ro Khanna. It's about gas prices. It's about Biden. It's about anything other than answering the fucking question, right? Because he doesn't have an answer. He doesn't. They're incompetent. They're fucking morons. They're lifeless, soulless hacks of human beings that deserve to be nowhere near the fucking hands of power, that are so incompetent and so ill-trained and so, ill-prepared for the position that they now hold, that it's so clearly evident to everybody in this case. They have no answers. They can't defend themselves. They can't fight their way out of a fucking wet paper bag, right? So what they do is they lash out, just like Pam Bondi had the list of like talking points, Jamie Raskin and everybody else and all the bullshit talking points that the Republicans have, so that if she got put in a corner, if she made to be, felt like a fool in that she had something to lash out at, and at least something that Fox News could use as a clip, right? Something that the people on Twitter that are undoubtedly using this moment, like, oh, Pete Hegseth rips into Ro Khanna. Pete Hegseth dishes it back to Ro Khanna about California and gas prices. Like, you can already see it right now, having been around this long enough. So it doesn't take a genius to see. It doesn't take somebody that's like too politically involved to see that, like, just that short sound bite, that sound clip of Pete Hegseth lashing out is going to be used by Newsmax, OAN, RSBN, Fox News and the rest of these fucking hacks that try to get a one over on their viewers as well. There was a couple more moments from this. Let me just see if I can dive into this one. This one was from, I believe, Seth Moulton. If I'm not getting this, yeah, it says right here. Does that sound like winning? Seth Moulton ruthlessly grills Hegseth over the war in Iran. So if we can dive into a minute or two of this, I would be greatly appreciative. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. My name is Brian. This is Blunt Politics, just trying to sift through a little bit of this Hegseth testimony today and the lies that he told and the grilling that he got. So I appreciate you joining me. Appreciate you if you would hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It would be fantastic. Shout out to the mods. Shout out to the chat. Love you guys. Let's dive into it.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes a gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Moulton.
Thank you. And hopefully the sound's a little better. These are coming from YouTube. The rest of them were coming off of Twitter. So I apologize if the sound's low on the Twitter clips. It typically is. Twitter sucks. Elon Musk. What else do you have to say as far as that's concerned? Hopefully these are a little easier to hear.
Very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, you and I agree that Iran is a national security threat to us and our allies. Now, earlier you called us feckless for questioning your war. Do you think Congress was smart or feckless when it failed to ask tough questions of the Bush administration and gave them a blank check for Iraq?
Well, if you're trying to compare this war to the Iraq
I'm just asking
war,
you, do you think it was
president
smart or
was the first
feckless?
one to call us.
No, that's what you guys have consistently done, isn't it? Isn't it Donald Trump and Hegseth that are consistently bringing up Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam as something that they're pointing to as glowing reviews, as something that we're supposed to be proud of? Or something that's supposed to be like, oh, you keep referencing the wars that, we didn't have any fucking clear victory, that we expended billions and billions of dollars and, wasted millions and, we're responsible for the deaths of millions and millions of people. Like, those are the things that you keep pointing to. And I'll continue to remind people that at some point we were only in Iraq for 50 or 60 days, right? We were only in Afghanistan at some point for 50 or 60 days. At some point, Vietnam had only been going on 50 or 60 days. And then guess what? It kept going. And then it kept going because there was no end route. There was no fucking off ramp. There was nothing put in place by the people, the incompetent hacks that decided to get us in those positions in the first place, to get us the fuck out of those positions. A similar situation that we now find ourselves in right this very instant, right? Both sides seemingly willing to have their blockades of a blockade of a blockade continue to stay in place while the world market suffers, while the economy suffers, while prices, explode all over the place. So again, none of this is beneficial. None of this is helping, and everything, everything that you're being told as far as that's concerned is a lie by these same people, by Pete Hegseth.
Stupid war, then it's a false comparison.
Okay, well, probably a good idea to ask tough questions. So let me just ask you a few questions. Did you advise the president that we should attack Iran?
We were, first of all, in this position in the cabinet, we never talk about what we would advise the president to do or not.
Do you think the president or you deserve more?
I've been in every meeting.
I understand
with
that,
the chairman
Mr.
and
Secretary.
everybody else as those
Secretary,
critical
I'm asking
decisions
the
were
questions.
made, and he got every perspective possible when it came.
I'm
to
just asking what your perspective is. Are you afraid to take ownership of this? Do you think it was a good idea or not?
As I've consulted the president, do I think it's a good idea to confront a nuclear bomb
To start this
in the
war.
hands of the?
I mean, it's obvious he doesn't have an answer to the question, doesn't want to answer the question, doesn't want to take ownership over whether or not he did instruct the president of the United States to go through with this, or decided to step up and say that he shouldn't. So again, you can see this mealy mouth, run around answer that he's trying to get, this lawyer speak. Let me try to just say and do a bunch of words to make it seem like I'm answering, but never really answering the question. Like, if he was proud of this, if he really thought that this was the religious endeavor that he tries to portray it as, he would have no problem standing behind the fact that he advised the president to go through with this. Right. I've never heard of a presidential advisor or secretary not willing to say what he advised the president to do. You know what I mean? Especially after that situation has already been undertaken. Like, if you were proud of it, if it was something that you wanted to stand behind, then you would have no problem as far as this testimony here, testifying in front of Congress, to say, yes, I advised the president to go through with this, or no, I was one of the people like J.D. Vance or others that it's been reported to say this might not be the best fucking idea. But here he decides to go, the end around route and not answer the question again.
Imagine what the world would look like right now if Iran had a nuclear weapon.
Okay, so let's
just imagine.
Which, by the way,
if they had one, which the
previous
Obama deal was going to allow them to do.
including the first Trump administration,
they had one.
prevented them from having a nuclear weapon. So, listen, how is this war going? Do you think we're winning?
Militarily on the battlefield, it's been an astounding military success.
No, but are we winning?
What does that fucking mean? What does that fucking mean? I know what he thinks it means, right? I know he's going to talk about the amount of targets struck and the boats that have been sunk and the aircraft that have been hit and all this bull. But what the fuck does that actually mean? Because he tries to distinguish on the battlefield as opposed to some other situation, right? So yes, on the battlefield we are, but what's the other, or what's the alternative situation that you seem to have in your brain? Because you don't seem to think that we're winning the war on a wider basis, right? You don't seem to think that we're winning the wider conflict by the way that you just decided to phrase that answer. That's what I'm getting from that. Because he decides to say on the battlefield, militarily, yes, but not on the negotiating platform, not on the geopolitical stage, not at the negotiating table. Is that what I'm, surmising is from what you're, from the way that you put that? Like, listen to the way he says that. I'll go back one more time. Listen to the way that he answers that. Well, on the battlefield,
winning?
Militarily on the battlefield, it's been an astounding military success.
No, but are we winning the war?
It almost sounds like there's a but in there. Militarily on the battlefield, it's been a resounding success. But if you look at the broader picture and the hurt that has been put on, the world economy and the American people, it almost sounds like he's like that's about to, that's what he's about to say after that. But obviously, that's not what he wants to say.
Absolutely.
Okay, so do you call Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz winning?
Well, I would say the blockade that we hold that doesn't allow anything to come in or out of Iranian ports.
Okay,
so always
we've blockaded their blockade. So they blockaded us, and then we blockaded their blockade. That's like saying, tag, you're it. Or, if President Madison had said, well, the British just burned down Washington, but don't worry, we're going to burn it down as well. Chairman Kaine, did the military have plans for the idea that Iran might blockade the strait?
Now, that should be a very simple answer. There should be no fucking runaround. There should be no bullshit like lawyers speak, right? This should be like a yes or no. Yes, we have, plans in place, or yes, we did have plans in place that recognized that the Strait of Hormuz was going to be under attack. The Strait of Hormuz was definitely going to be a point of contention, something that the Iranians were going to try to control. Or no, we're idiots. We had no idea that was going to fucking happen, and we got caught by surprise, and that's why we're in this position. Like, it just, either way, it should be a very easy answer. Is that what you think we get from Dan Kaine? No, I can tell you it's not.
Sure. Thanks for the question. I'll answer it this way. In this job, I have to maintain trust.
Way too many fucking words. Way too many fucking words already. Okay, if you were serious about this, if you had actual plans in place, right? If you had no reason to beat around the fucking bush, then you would just say yes. Yes, we had plans in place. Unfortunately, they didn't work, or fucking, Donald Trump didn't want them enacted. Something, obviously, because the Strait of Hormuz is now controlled by Iran. So whatever plans that they are going to say they had in place obviously didn't work, right? So it's just, to me, it's a clear indication that these people did not have this planned out, that, whoever was doing the war gaming didn't relay up the chain of command what Iran was going to do. Obviously, they didn't have the nightly news on when Iran was saying, hey, this is exactly what the fuck we're going to do. Not only the Strait of Hormuz, but the U.S. bases in the Middle East. Also, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait could very much be in play as well. Like, those are all things that they said that they were going to do. So there's no excuse for them not to have thought of, plans, backup plans, mitigatory plans to have that not take place. So the fact that he said so many words already is a pretty clear indication that this wasn't something that was either thought of, or if it was thought of serious, or thought to be serious enough of a problem to actually enact a response or something to stop that from happening in the first place.
With a variety of constituents to
Okay, I'm
include
just
the president.
But thank you, Ricky.
Sure, we
Appreciate that. Looks like Little Kegs isn't getting our money's worth in his personal makeup studio in the Pentagon. He has a slight yellow, waxy hue, or maybe it's my TV. No, that's what happens when you look consistently hungover for 30 or more days straight. You start getting that like yellow tinge about you. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's still feeling a little ill from the 17 8-balls that he ingested at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Could be also a reason as to why he looks that yellow. But Ricky, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that $10 contribution. Thank you to everybody else in the chat that either gifts, signs up for a membership or hits a milestone, gifting out memberships to other fabulous people in the chat. All of you guys recognized and highlighted and appreciated at the end of every single podcast. In case you're just joining us for the first time, if you send one in, if you send in a Venmo, which is right here in the top corner, guys, if you take a quick picture, $1 or $2 is all we ask for. This is true independent media, no ads. ads, no backers, no sponsors, right? I don't charge you for any content. Nothing's hidden behind a paywall. You don't have to pay for the Substack like you do for a lot of these other accounts. We try to do it just based off of your generosity and the benefit that you see in the show. Not really the most profitable way to do things, but that's not exactly why we're here. We're here because we believe in these, believe in these policies. We believe in being on the right side of history. We believe in being the opposition and the resistance to what we're seeing now in this government, and that is the most important thing. So if you guys do have the ability to kick in a buck or two, please think about doing so. And again, if you think about getting, great merch like this, Stop Pretending Your Racism is Patriotism, and shirts just like it that let everybody knows where you stand, check out bostonbrian.com and the merch site on there. That also gives you the show schedule and all of the links to my social media platforms as well. So check out bostonbrian.com for all things blunt politics. All right, just another minute of this, and then we'll dive on to another one of these segments, another one of these clips that I had, because like I said, there was a bunch of these, some pretty heated exchanges as well. We might not get through all of these, but let's at least see if we can get to this one. Let's just see if there's another minute.
As always, my point in this is, as I explain the role, my point in this is we always offer a full range of military options that are carefully considered with the associated risks with those options and the considerations therein.
So,
And we
Mr.
always
Secretary,
do that.
did you consider this risk?
Again, so all of those words, no answer. No fucking answer. And it's so frustrating, right? For a layman, for somebody on the outside that's not a politician, that's not a lawyer, that doesn't have 14 fucking people, going over his speeches to change every word to make sure that it's politically correct or all that bullshit. Like, it just pisses me off to no end. Answer the fucking question. It's not a difficult question. You're supposed to know your shit militarily. And did you fucking have a plan as to far as the Strait of Hormuz and what Iran was going to do to control it? Yes or fucking no. Shut up and answer the question.
Of course, this department has looked at all aspects of this risk. And
So then
because
why did you
this
send the
department looks,
minesweepers, the only minesweepers we had in the Gulf, to Singapore weeks before the war started?
we have lots of capabilities that you may.
Ooh, I mean, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Really doesn't bode well for your preparatory plans as far as the Strait of Hormuz. If again you look at the details of you sending the minesweepers elsewhere, and not seemingly thinking that those would be like a necessary resource that we might have to utilize as far as the Strait of Hormuz. So again, that's one in the corner against Pete Hegseth. He's about 42-0 at this point.
Or may not be aware of at the classified level.
Okay, and
deal
so
with to deal with.
by the way, would the
mines.
Trump class battleships have helped with this?
You're talking about a
Minesweeper.
prospective future battleship, which we welcome in the fleet.
Okay, so you're supportive of the battleships.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How much has Iran profited from your administration lifting the sanctions on Iran when you started this war?
I can tell you Iran is financially devastated right now. In
Okay, well,
conjunction with the
they've earned
Treasury.
about
and
14
They
billion.
also told us, and they continue to tell us, that they're militarily devastated as well. Meanwhile, their own intelligence, their own U.S. intelligence assessment continue to talk about how that Iran still has at least in the range of between 40 to even as high as 70% of their drone and missile capabilities that they still have that they did, just prior to this war. Again, it flies directly in the face of everything Pete Hegseth is fucking telling us. It's ridiculous. Like, their own U.S. intelligence assessments are telling us this. The fact that that I didn't see that brought up as well is a little not concerning, but I would have liked to have seen it being brought up as well. But let's see if we can dive onto this next clip. This is Jason Crow and Pete Hegseth have nasty exchange as Crow grills Warsec about top aid. This is the one I think we looked at a short clip of this earlier, and I think we just need to go into about a minute of this, where again somebody that Pete Hegseth is buddy with, very closely associated with, as one of his advisors, flies around with, potentially has some shady dealings in his past or some shady people he's connected with. So I think that's what this line of questioning is about. And then we'll move on to a couple of these other ones as well. There's one here. I want to get to this clip too at some point where Trump either is an idiot and definitely has no clue what he's talking about as far as the Ukrainian military, or his brain fell out of his head and he is mixing up Ukraine and Iran. So let's see if we can just dive into, which one was I going through here? Jason Crow? Yeah, this one. Let me throw this on your screen.
Mr. Crow.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I want to go in a little bit different direction. Timothy Parlatore served as your private attorney, correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Parlatore also served as private attorney for President Trump's campaign, correct?
I'm not privy to every professional position that he's held.
Well, I'll help you out. He did. And you appointed Mr. Parlatore as your senior advisor, correct?
He does reserve duty on behalf of the Navy.
His title is senior as advisor.
Again, the resistance to just answering the fucking question is mind-blowing to me. Is he or isn't he? Yes or no? Yes or fucking no? This like, well, he does have this, but like, shut up. What the fuck? There's one word that you have to say, either a yes or a no. we could be done with this a lot quicker if you didn't just continue to answer like an idiot.
You gave him that title, correct?
And I would count him as very much an advisor of mine.
Yep, he travels with you, correct?
Tim Parlatore has been a long-term friend. He's a great patriot.
He travels.
Does he travel with you? Does he travel with you? Yes or no?
With you? That's not what I asked. I reclaim my time. He travels with you, doesn't he? He travels with you, doesn't he? Correct? There's public Instagram that shows this. Just say yes.
Yes, of course.
Okay. He sits in meetings with you and advises you, doesn't he?
He sits in some meetings on occasion.
Well, he
The
maintains.
look on Hegseth's face, they're like, how could you possibly ask me? Is in the meantime, and then he goes on to say, yes, he does. You know what I mean? Like, that is an outrageous question, is the look on Pete Hegseth's face. Yet the answer coming out of his mouth is, yes, you're right about what you're saying. Like, what?
It's a desk in an office in the Pentagon, does he not?
I'd have to check.
You don't know?
It's a big Pentagon.
You directly commissioned Mr. Parlatore in the Naval Reserve as a Navy commander in March 2025, did you not?
I was very proud to do so.
And when you did, because he's a Navy Reserve officer, he didn't have to go through the PPO process, the White House Presidential Personnel Office, right? He wasn't vetted by White House PPO.
Uniformed service members don't get vetted by.
The answer is yes. He didn't have to be vetted by White House PPO. He didn't go through the Senate confirmation process either, did he? The answer is no.
I don't know what you're getting to, but Tim is a fantastic.
I'll tell you what I'm getting to. The answer is no, right?
He does great work.
Okay. He didn't maintain a security clearance when you appointed him as special advisor. Is that right?
I'd have to check.
You don't know?
I mean, anybody that has access to sensitive material is going to have the appropriate clearance.
Okay, so when you appointed him as special advisor, he had a security clearance?
You're trying to piece together a timeline.
No, I'm asking a simple question. One of your special, most sensitive advisors, did he have a security clearance?
No, you're playing a gotcha game like you do on TV and everywhere else. You're trying to thread together details that are connected about something else.
Clearly, you're concerned about my line of questioning, aren't you, Mr. Secretary? Because you know where it's going, don't you? I think you do. So does Mr. Parlatore represent foreign governments? He has a private law practice, does he not?
From what I understand of his law practice, he does a lot of great work for service members in the military and other.
He maintains a private law practice. Does he represent foreign governments or foreign persons in that private law practice?
I don't know.
You don't know. Somebody who's sitting in your meetings, a special advisor, you don't know.
And think about what he's saying there. The Secretary of Defense and one of his special advisors, somebody that flies around with him, somebody that sits in meetings with him, somebody that has a law office, you can't tell you if he has a security clearance, doesn't know if he has an office or a desk at the Pentagon, right? Can't tell you if he's affiliated or associated with foreign governments, can't tell you if he represents foreign governments. Like, you think that might be an issue? You think that's a problem, maybe? That like this guy hasn't been vetted, that this guy may have connections to foreign governments, the security clearance, the spot at the Pentagon, and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, as he calls himself, the Secretary of War, has no fucking clue about this guy's background. I don't know. Might be something you want to question.
Does he represent any senior officers who are currently under consideration for promotion by you or your office?
The only person that makes determinations about senior officers is me.
Answer the question. Does he represent senior officers who are under consideration for promotion by you?
No, I'm the one that makes decisions about choosing.
Does he represent them, Mr. Secretary? Does he represent them?
Doesn't represent anyone. He's a legal advisor and always has been.
But he has clients, does he not?
He's a legal advisor to me on reserve duty, and he always has been, and he does a fantastic
Is it
job.
true that
You're-
Mr.
you're playing a
Parlatore was
losing hand,
removed?
whatever you're
I
trying to
reclaim my
play here.
time. Is it true that Mr. Parlatore was removed from an investigation by the White House last year?
I don't know what you're referring to, but not that I'm aware of.
You're not aware of it. Was it true that you were also removed from that same investigation? The answer is yes.
No, not that I'm aware of.
You're not aware of it. That's interesting. Well, is it true that Mr. Parlatore disparaged President Trump?
I don't know what you're referring to, but no.
Is it true that Mr. Parlatore was accused by President Trump and his lawyers of lying?
What you're accused of is a cute line of questioning that's
So it says behind him, quote, Trump's campaign disputed his former lawyer's assertion. Mr. Parlatore is no longer a member of the legal team. His statements regarding current members of the legal team are unfounded and categorically false, a spokesperson said. And that's from what looks to be a Politico article, if I can read that bottom line as far as what the source is.
going nowhere.
Well, it's going somewhere, which is why you're not answering the question. Was it true that he was accused of lying by the president's legal team?
I'm not familiar to. You'd have to give me the context.
Well, it's right
of that
here.
article,
You want to look at
and
the statement from President
Anybody
Trump's
could blow
legal
up
team?
a quote and claim it says something, and that's what you're doing in a little stunt.
Secretary Hegseth, what I'm really concerned about is you purport to have unfaltering loyalty to President Trump, and yet you are continuously
Oh,
going.
you care a lot
I
about
reclaim my
President Trump,
time.
don't you?
You were
This
going
is a
behind
cute
his
waste
back.
of your 5 minutes.
So this is Pete Hegseth attempting to disrupt again in you know the final statement here. Again, where all this line of questioning was going. This is Pete Hegseth knowing that he doesn't like where the line of questioning was going and what's going to come from that apparently. So he's trying to disrupt again this representative from getting out that final statement. So let's see how far he takes it.
Pointing
a
people.
huge,
I reclaim my
cute
time.
waste of your 5 minutes that
I
led
reclaim my
nowhere.
time. You are
Do not
repeatedly
pass go,
going
do not
behind the
collect the
president's
Gentleman
back.
from Colorado's
Failed.
time. Go ahead, Mr. Carl.
You are repeatedly going behind President Trump's back, appointing people who he is accused of lying, who the White House is
Gentleman's
accused of
time's
lying.
expired. The
And you are
chair now
not being
recognizes
honest
the
with
gentlelady
President
from
Trump.
South
So
Carolina.
Pete Hegseth did a sufficient job of not allowing him the kind of the final statement that he wanted to get out, kind of tying all of the line of questioning together. And which is exactly, again, something that we've seen time and time again from these people when they're caught in a corner, when they don't have an answer, when they know it's not looking good for them, just, outbursts, whataboutisms, Joe Biden, Kamala, anything that you could possibly pull out of your fucking hat at that point is something that you can utilize. We'll go into this one here. This is, I believe, Sarah Jacobs, basically asking Pete Hegseth if Donald Trump is mentally stable enough to be president. So let's just see. I think this is about a minute into this one as well, so we don't have to dive into too much more of this as well. I think there was one other where somebody is asking why the generals got fired as well, and then we'll go into Trump again mistaking, I believe, Ukraine for Iran, or again mistaking in its entirety the capabilities of the Ukrainian military. All right, let's just see if we can jump onto this one, see what this one's all about.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, as you know, I represent San Diego, the largest military community in the country. Right now, as we are speaking, 2,500 San Diego Marines are off the coast of Iran. Many, many other San Diegans in uniform have gotten 48-hour deployment notices. So this war in Iran is not theoretical for me or for my constituents. It's deeply personal. As you also know, on Easter Sunday, President Trump threatened to destroy Iran's bridges and power plants, writing, quote, "Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch." And 2 days later, President Trump wrote, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will." My office's phones have been ringing off the hook. I've heard from so many military families concerned about the president's mental fitness and whether he's fit to serve as our commander-in-chief, given that he's sending their loved ones into harm's way. Our troops, who have shown incredible bravery and tactical proficiency, deserve to know that their leaders are focused and stable. So, Mr. Secretary, you are with the president a lot, and it pains me to even have to ask this about our president, but my constituents' lives are at stake. Do you believe that the president is mentally stable enough to be the commander-in-chief?
Did you ask the same question of Joe Biden for 4 years?
Mr. Secretary.
Gee, I mean, again, you see what we're talking about here? I mean, you see how fucking much they pull this out of their ass as far as not having to answer a question about whether it's Donald Trump's mental capabilities, whether it's the the military capabilities of our U.S. armed forces or the Iranians' military capabilities. All of the fucking time, whether it's Pam Bondi answering questions about the Epstein files. It's just the same fucking thing that every single one of them does. There's not an original thought. They don't have a brain to fucking share between these people, and it's all just the auto response of Joe Biden, Kamala, Democrats, bad, evil demons, COVID. It's an auto response at this point.
Joe Biden is not the president. Mr. Trump has been president for 1.5 years, and I'm asking you
did
right
not,
now.
and I won't even engage with the level of disparagement that you're putting on the commander-in-chief, who indeed.
But listen, like, the disparagement that she's putting on the commander-in-chief, did you listen to what she said? Apparently you didn't, because what she's relaying to you, right? What she's saying is that she has been getting calls from military family members all over the place, considering she represents San Diego, heavily populated by military servicemen and women, obviously. So when people hear this rhetoric, when the families of these fucking servicemen and women hear that rhetoric, when they hear the president saying he's going to, erase an entire civilization, when they're hearing about these different U.S. bases being hit all over the Middle East, when they're talking about, escalation as far as maybe and possibly boots on the ground going into Iran, it's probably not a stretch, right? It's not far off to assume that she's probably receiving some phone calls and people are asking some questions and demanding some answers as far as Donald Trump's mental capabilities. So the fact that he's now disparaging what the family members are saying, again, military family members, as said by the representative there, he's trying to portray that as something that she herself is saying. And more people should be asking this question of Pete Hegseth, of people like Marco Rubio, anybody else that's in front of a camera, anybody else that's under oath should be forced to answer the question about Donald Trump's mental capacity, mental capabilities, and whether or not he is fit to serve right now as president and to lead the military and do anything else, to tie his shoes, for fuck's sake, at this point. You know what I mean? Every single one of these people should be questioned on this, put on the record at all costs.
Mr. Secretary,
every single day.
Mr. Secretary, Biden is not the president.
Sharpest, most insightful commander-in-chief we've had in generations. And you want
the sharpest and most insightful commander-in-chief that we've had in generations. Again, the amounts and levels of sycophancy that it takes to fucking utter those words, knowing what Donald Trump has said and done in the past, knowing his rapid decline that he's on right now, is just, it's mind-blowing. Right? It is mind-blowing. And that's kind of what that, like, the whiff of power, like, that's kind of the arrogance you get right now, or that you'll see right now in this Trump administration, because they have control of the Supreme Court, because they have the Pentagon, per Pete Hegseth, they got the DOJ, they got Todd Blanche, they got the FBI with Kash Patel, right? All of these things, they got the House, they got the Senate right now. So they feel it, like, comfortable enough, right? They feel in control enough right now to say these things, when in fact they look like utter fucking hypocrites and sycophants, and nothing but, right? Here's another one here where he's questioned about the firing of some of the soldiers. I believe it's questioned directly on the generals that he was firing, basically being asked why did he get fired, and not having a very specific answer as to why some of these people were removed from their positions. So let's see if we can check this one out.
Incredible job. I appreciate your leadership and thank you for your time today. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair, I recognize the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Ms. Houlihan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate you gentlemen for being here today and for the opportunity to have a face-to-face conversation with each of you. I have many questions and unfortunately need to start with some that disturb me, Mr. Secretary, from your opening remarks. In your opening remarks, Mr. Secretary, you reserved more words and more time and more vitriol to condemn Democrats than you did for Xi and for Putin combined.
And again, to talk about what she's referencing there, I don't think I have the clip pulled up, but he talks about how, again, and I'm paraphrasing, the most existential threat that the administration, Hegseth, and the military faces now is the defeatist Democrats and people in the media lying and talking about how poorly that they're doing and stuff like that. So again, not Iran, not Putin, not Kim Jong-un, not any of the autocrats or dictators or anybody around the world right now that are our actual enemies, but again, talking about how Democrats are the enemy of the people, basically, reciting what Donald Trump said, basically reciting the type of rhetoric that leads to political violence in the first place, again, along the lines of what Jessica Tarlov was saying, but that's just what they do.
It's pretty telling to me that you decided to use your words and your time for that. It turns out that Democrats, even Democrats in Congress, are patriots as well. We serve in our uniformed services, we admire and love our uniformed services, and we love our country just as much as Republicans do. In fact, in this body, I and Representative Bacon, who you just spoke to, led the junior enlisted pay raises that you now sit there and laud and take credit for. We led the closing of the BAH, which then you ended up poaching and using for other things. This body led and authorized Ukrainian funding that is now being withheld. You also, in your opening remarks, strangely admonished us here for not being patient with the results of your 2-month war, a war of your suggestion to this president, a war of your choice, a war you executed without congressional consultation. And so it shouldn't be shocking, sir, Mr. Secretary, that we have questions. Indeed, it's constitutionally our right to do so. So to be clear, despite a brilliant performance by our men and women in uniform, despite thousands of tactical successes, Iran still has nuclear material, still has air defenses, still has small boats, and still has the Strait. So despite the fact that your recent comments indicate that operations appear to be finished, there clearly is more work that needs to be done. As mentioned, today is indeed 60 days. So Mr. Secretary, how many more months, just order of magnitude, do you think that you're going to need to be able to conclude operations successfully? And how many more billions of dollars do you think you're going to ask this body for?
Well, as you know, and as the president has stated, you would never tell your adversary,
Sir,
especially once
recognize
you've,
that is the line that you always,
especially once
give
you've
me an order of
decimated their military and you control their
React
strait,
4X.
how long you would be committed to the mission.
And the next thing that you mentioned in your opening
You know
remarks,
that.
Mr.
You would never do that.
Secretary, is that you called on, which astounded me, examples of the Afghan.
Again, that's giving too much respect. You hear what Pete Hegseth said in the background. You would never tell the enemy how long you expect to take on a mission, or something along those lines. But again, if you've defeated them completely, if they're defeated militarily, if they have no ability as far as air defenses, drone capabilities, missile defenses, offensive missile, and the ability to control the Strait, then what problem would you have at coming out with a timeline? Why would you have any, hesitance? Why would you have any resistance to coming out with the timeline? If you're so mighty and powerful and in control of the situation, it wouldn't matter if you said 12 days, 15 days, 20 days. If they had nothing that they could possibly do in retaliation, then you should be able to give us a clear and concise timeline on when we should be the fuck out of this. But the fact that they can't just gives you all the answers that you need to know as far as when they expect to be out of this. They don't know. They have no fucking idea. They're going to tell you that they're in control. Meanwhile, as the representative just said, that there's no way to deny the control over the Strait, their missile capabilities, and the fact that they still have these small boats, and obviously a huge bargaining chip on the world stage at this moment in time.
War, the Iraq War, and the Vietnam War. Those are stunning examples to me of something that didn't go our way. We had the opportunity to execute on those wars quite well, but we didn't accomplish any mission, in my opinion, and I think you would agree on that as well.
My point is this effort is
this
not those efforts.
That's exactly it. Is this war shaping up to be that war? Because it has
We're shaping up to get the same kind of Democrats we got in those wars.
And like she said, you couldn't hear it because fucking dickhead's talking over her, but she says it has every indication that those wars had that we're likely to be involved in this for quite some time, whether it's as long as some of those wars that we were involved in, or or just longer, a lot longer than you established or said or led anybody on to believe in the first place, there is no clear off-ramp. There is no clear way out of this as seen right now in this situation, which is, again, similar to where we were in those conflicts, in those wars before that did take some 20 years in some cases, that did cost trillions and trillions of dollars, that did end up killing millions and millions of people. You know what I mean? So the fact that you're now touting this as only being this far along, as not having an off-ramp like these other wars that you continuously bring up, is not the flex that you think it is, motherfucker.
We're naysayers from the beginning, undermining the progress of troops.
Have a conversation about the country and the nation and not about parties.
The Democrat Party wanted to socially engineer the Department of War.
And he goes right back. Can you please have a conversation about this topic and not go back to politics? Can you not make it about party lines? And the first words out of his mouth is Democrats. They're incapable of doing it. They have nothing else besides that.
We've had to undo that and get it to a point where it's capable of protecting power. And
clearly,
that's exactly
you're not
what
able to
we've
have
done.
that conversation.
And
So I will
President Trump
move
has
on, sir,
rebuilt
and
it.
I'm going to reclaim my time. General George, let's talk about a guy who's a patriot. Somebody who every single person here in this dais and down there in that audience and out there in this world has huge admiration for. Why did he get fired?
Well, as with any moves we make with general officers, first of all, I thank them for their service. And ultimately,
My impression is you thanked him by a text or a phone call. You didn't even do it to his face.
out of respect for these officers, we never talk about the nature of their removal, but every one of them, including myself, knows that they serve at the pleasure of the president. Ultimately, out of respect to these officers, we don't reveal it. However, I will note, it's very difficult to change the culture of a department that was
zero answers. And I think it's something, I think it was stated in this hearing, something like 8 generals. I think there was like 34 different officers or people that have been removed, or even more at this point, by Hegseth. And again, not able to give a single, specific reason as to why any of them were removed from their positions, besides being, serving at the behest of the President of the United States. So basically no answers to be given there in that one as well. But that leads us to this moment that people are bringing up as well, finally, where Donald Trump, again, only 2 fucking explanations for this. Only 2 explanations for this. And that is either he is completely out of touch with reality as far as the capabilities of the Ukrainian military, or again, his brain has fallen so far out of his fucking skull that he is mixing up Ukraine and Iran at this point, and he can't keep his wars straight. There's no other available option that I will allow or afford anybody at this point in time. But this is Trump saying Ukraine is militarily defeated, and you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense considering that they just took out about 35,000 Russians off the battlefield last month, 96% of which were done with their drone capabilities. That doesn't really speak to a military that's defeated militarily by any stretch of the imagination. And then he goes on to talk about a specific number of ships. And then you're like, well, that doesn't fucking make any sense either, considering, the Navy or lack thereof that Ukraine has. Where are there 150 Ukrainian ships at the bottom of the sea somewhere? And then you think to yourself, oh, I get you. He thinks he's talking about Iran. So again, that's what I'm leaning towards. But here's Sleepy Don's moment in the Oval. I believe he's with the Artemis II astronauts in this one. But he's asked by, I believe, Caitlin Collins about a question about Iran and Ukraine on, I believe, whether or not he thinks one is going to be done before the other, which really throws his brain for a loop. Check this one out.
War do you think ends first? That's an interesting question. Coming from you, that's very interesting. Which war would end first? I don't know. Maybe they're on a similar timetable. I think Ukraine, militarily, they're defeated. Okay, you wouldn't know that by.
And you're like, wow, well, that's a fucking really ridiculous and strange things for him to say at that moment in time. Ukraine is defeated militarily at a time where we're talking about the regaining of territory, at a time where we're talking about the efficacy of their strikes on oil refineries and on different ports all over the fucking place. At the same time, we're talking about the consistent uptick in the amount of Russians that are eliminated from the battlefield, the continued use and uptick of drones on the battlefield. Like, what the fuck's he talking about? And he goes on.
Reading the fake news, but military, look there. Navy. So they had 159 ships. Every ship is right now underwater. Typically, that's pretty good.
The Ukrainian Navy had 159 ships, and they're all underwater. Do you want to retract that statement? Do you want to maybe confer with an advisor before you come out with that statement again? Or in fact, are you again confusing because of your your mental incapacities? Let's just say Ukraine and Iran at this point. It's like 159 ships at the bottom. I don't think you're talking about what you think you're talking about there, Grandpa.
What do you think, Jared? I mean, it's going to be hard for them to make a naval comeback. Okay.
Yeah, let's ask the astronauts. Let's ask the astronauts what they think about the military conflicts that I've gotten involved in. What do you think, astronauts? what do you think about the capabilities of a country? I don't know which one I'm talking about. Can you please help me out of this mess? My brain's quite literally leaking out of my loafers as we speak. Or is that shit? I'm not sure. Smell me.
Now they have an Air Force. Every one of their planes has been shut down or has been decimated.
So at this point, it's clear to everybody, like, oh, okay, he thinks he's talking about Iran, but he really said Ukraine. So is anybody going to help him out of this one? Or is, again, we're just going to let Grandpa go? When he's talking, he's watching Jeopardy and pretending that he's playing Wheel of Fortune at this point. Like, we just don't even tell him. Let him go. He's playing nice with himself. He's being quiet in the corner. Let's not disturb him type of thing, right? Like, okay there, Gramps. Settle down, Chief. We want to get those fucking words right. I'm sure it's only important as the president of the United States of America that you understand what country you're talking about to begin with. But, who's to expect that from this guy? But, speaking of Ukraine and Donald Trump's mental, mental decline, here's a couple updates I'll squeeze in the last few minutes that we have here of some of the updates coming from the Ukrainian front lines, some of the updates on the removal of the scum of the orcs from the battlefield here, another 1,180 ticked off, removed from the battlefield here. This is a Jake Bro presentation. Russian war bloggers say Russia is fucked. 2 apps on fire again. So again, we'll be talking about the disaster, both environmental and to the Russians that the 2 ops refinery has become, and the consistent strikes that the Ukrainians have been able to perpetrate on this site. And again, its location, its geolocation. And while this is playing, I'll pull up the Google Earth. But the location of this facility is making it so it's basically impossible for the Russians to defend against it, because the Ukrainians have the ability to send their drones basically over the Black Sea the entire time, so as to get around the air defenses, whatever air defenses Russia alleges to have in the area. So it makes it very, very difficult for the Russians to defend against this, and makes it so that the Ukrainians are having the successes that we've seen. And then these fires are astronomical. I mean, these are things that are burning for weeks at this point in time. We're talking about, like we brought up on the last show, an environmental disaster, on a very, very large scale, as far as the surrounding people, the surrounding towns, villages, and people along the Black Sea, as we're seeing in tons of videos. But let's dive into a couple minutes of this one, and then there's a Preston Stewart update about about Ukraine war reaching a tipping point. So I was curious what he gets into as far as that one is concerned. But let's dive into this one. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to speed Jake up just a touch, so hopefully we can get through both of these videos before I have to get you guys out of here. What do you say, 1.1? We'll do 1.15. How about that? We'll try that. But here we go. Jake Bro, Russian war bloggers say Russia is fucked, something that we've been hearing more and more from the Russian war blogger side, more and more likely to be calling out the problems now faced on the front lines by the Russian troops. So, something that we're seeing more and more of here. But here we go.
Welcome back, Defenders. Remember in my last video how I said I was sad that the Tuapse oil refinery fire had finally gone out? Fire brought under control at Russia's Tuapse oil terminal. Well, Ukraine decided to cheer me up, and they struck it again, finishing off Russia's seaborne.
I feel bad watching it like this because I cover his face, but if I do it like this on the vertical view, it's like you see basically like one of my eyes. You see, you basically see half my face. But again, maybe we'll struggle through it like that because I do feel bad covering up Jake's coverage of this,
Exports, the Tuapse refinery is ablaze again. The Russian Black Sea export terminal's refinery burns again, 4 days after Russia extinguished the last fire from the April 20th strike. So I think I understand what's happening here. One, Russia cannot defend this facility. Given its proximity to the Black Sea coastline, Ukraine can just sail their drones over the Black Sea the entire distance, and there's just not enough time, not enough warning for Russia to shoot down these drones. In addition, this complex is interesting because this is the refinery up here. Ukraine has not been striking the refinery for the last 2 weeks. They've been striking the export terminal. So Russia pumps in crude oil, refines it into
Yes.
gasoline, diesel, whatever. They then store it here and load it onto ships. So for the last 2 weeks, Ukraine has been focusing on these storage tanks for the export terminal so that ships cannot load. Russia cannot load up and then sell their gasoline or refined oil products for a profit around the world.
And we've
this
talked
was very
about that
smart.
a bunch too. We've talked about the fact that, you know, if you can hit the ports, you know, if you can make it so that they can't get this oil out, you know, onto the economy to make the money that they need to make from it, then it doesn't matter how much that they produce. You know, it doesn't matter how much they continuously suck out of the ground. They're not going to have enough places to store it. It's going to continuously put a hamper on the, you know, the refining process. I think it was Jake actually on this show when he came on last time that talked about, like, there's a very specific order in which this stuff needs to happen and continuously happen. Otherwise, stoppages, to the process have a huge impact, which is exactly what we're seeing. So you see Ukraine basically targeting the port, basically the ability of Russians to get it onto the ships and get it onto the world market to make the money from that. Again, this is a huge response to mitigate the benefit that Russia has seen in, again, the ease of different sanctions by the United States, and also the increase in a price per barrel of oil, which has, you know, allowed Russia to bring in a considerable amount more above what they were bringing in before, obviously, where the price per barrel of oil was before the Iran war.
Because if you destroy the loading terminal, there's nothing to refine. You cannot refine if there's nowhere to store it. Maybe Russia could continue refining and then pump it the other direction to use it domestically or something, but Ukraine for the last 2 weeks first went after the storage tanks for the export terminal, and now they're going after the refinery proper. This is brutal. So here's a low-resolution satellite images from yesterday. This is the damage to the export part of this complex, and now they're going after the refinery proper. This is an early morning picture, so I'm guessing these drones went in during the nighttime. This is what the fire looked like in the morning, and then this is what the fire looked like later in the day.
So just apocalyptic views right there. You can see what it looked like in the morning, like you just said, and then how it seems to have spread rapidly throughout the day. I mean, that fireball right there, I mean, you can tell just at the height of the smokestacks that you're seeing right here. Look at the height of the smokestacks compared to the height of the fireball. Like, that's a substantial blaze right there that I don't think anybody's getting close to for quite some time. I know there's videos going around of, like, the Russian firefighters sitting around the area like they're ready to do something, but I don't think they get enough hose. I don't think they get enough hose in the entire area to put that fucking thing out at that point.
This is what the fire looked like in the morning, and then this is what the fire looked like later in the day. This is massive. So once again, this is the actual refinery part of the complex. It was struck by,
and you can see multiple fires there. You know what I mean? So it looks like multiple different strikes. I mean, it would be hard for me to see how this fire in this region started as a result of the huge fire that's just off camera at this point in time. It seems to me it would be more apt to think that this is a secondary strike somehow on this position, specifically that's relating to or causing that fire. But, you know, obviously some big devastation, some big damage being done. And I don't think it's going to be anytime soon that this is going to be up and running or being able to be utilized by the Russian military or the Russian government to profit off of.
It looks like at least 4 or 5 drones, and the fire is consuming the complex. It's continuing to spread. This is massive, guys. Like, this looks
Look
fake.
at that shit.
This fire is so big, it looks like CGI. There's nothing Russia can do to put this out. So Putin has gone missing. Anytime there's a national catastrophe in the country.
So this says here, water supply has been suspended in Tuapse after a power supply problem at a pumping station linked to the burning refinery. Governor Vyamin Kondratyev said that the situation is difficult but under control while residents of nearby streets are being evacuated. I've even seen in some videos that the oil has started to kind of like make its way down some of the streets. Obviously, you've probably seen, if you're up to speed on this, the videos of like the residents out there with shovels, basically shoveling the oil off of the sea, off of the coastline, which is, again, it's very hard to watch, very hard to see, but something that didn't need to happen, something that, Ukraine gave Russia ample opportunity to get the fuck out of their country, to end this without this getting to this point, without this escalating to this point. So unfortunately, it still remains as a proper and justified military target as far as the Russians' capability, the Russian military's capability, and the Russian government's ability to profit and continue this war.
Russia, Putin just disappears for 3 days. So he's been laying low, not making any public appearances, and this is the regional governor in Tuapse trying to make it look like the situation is under control when it is not under control.
Look at the fucking blaze behind him. Like, I know we continue to say this and see these pictures and stuff like that, but like, look at the size of the fucking blaze going on behind them as they just stroll down the road like everything's okay. Look at that. Like fucking Mount Vesuvius is erupting behind them. We're going to sit here, look at fire till fire burns to a point I can even get within 1 fucking mile of this sun beach. Look at how high the flames are, sir. I cannot go near this fucking thing right now. It'll melt my fucking face off. The fuck you expect me to do with this shitty fucking fire truck? Fuck me, man. Look at the size of that fucking thing. I don't know why I just got Scottish. I was doing okay until then, but, what are they supposed to do? They're not even breaking sweat. Like, those are brand new uniforms. That's a brand new fucking helmet that this guy's got on. He's getting nowhere near that fucking flame. You shitting me? You should look at this. Fuck me, man. Look at the size of this. Fucking reach the clouds, dude. Fuck, man. You expect me to go near this? We don't have no fucking water. What do you want me to do? Piss on this fire? No way, man. Fuck that. If we sit here another 2-3 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 months, maybe the fire will get down to a point where I can put the fucking hose on it, sir. But till then, fuck off. Like that uniform has never seen action. This uniform has never seen a fire. What is happening? Are these actors? Are these people here? Throw this on. Alexandrovich, throw this on. We got to do something for a video. Make people think we fight this fire. Fuck. Put this one on. I know it's brand new. Look at it. The brand fucking spank. The gloves, the boots, the fucking pants, the jacket, the helmet. This guy over here. Like, even the hose looks brand new. Even the hose looks like it hasn't been run through practice, training, a fire before. Look at the hose fucking sparkling. You almost can't tell the hose from the white line on the road. Look at that shit. And these are the people down on the coastline, again, shoveling up the oil that is washing up on the shorelines. I think Jake will point out here that this is a female, in case anyone's wondering why it's a female. Well, again, the men have been kind of used and abused and thrown into the meat grinder for other purposes, so probably not a ton of those around to help with the shovel, to help with the cleanup purposes. So probably a lot of the females that you'll be seeing doing the shoveling as far as that's concerned. But it goes on here. Check out the level of environmental damage. Honestly, as we joke around about the impacts, not joke around, but we joke around about the fire brigade's attempt to try to put that out. But the environmental impacts on this are very serious. It is very disheartening and obviously very tough to see, very tough to recognize the damage that and the impact that it's going to have. But again, not a situation that the allies, Ukraine, or anybody else involved wanted to see happen. That called for this. That did anything to necessitate this, and didn't give Russia, already multiple off ramps before it came to this spot. Before it came to this, so. Look at him just shoveling it up. Look
So
at
in my
the
last video-
background, bro. You know what I mean? It's just the background is crazy. Like Jake said, it almost looks like CGI or fucking AI at a lot of these points. You know, it's just crazy.
I showed you the environmental damage, and I said there's guys with shovels just shoveling up on the beach, but I was wrong. This is a woman.
Right.
Russia has women on the beach shoveling up crude oil. Where did all your men go, Russia? Yes, this is an environmental catastrophe. This is a disaster for the Black Sea coastline, and
you can see above my head here where it says two ops is drowning in fuel oil. The spill is growing and moving toward resorts. Cleanup crews have removed about 2,500 cubic meters of contaminated soil. A black film covers the beaches. The spill is drifting out to sea, and it continues, but it's cut off. So, I mean, obviously to recognize the environmental impacts of this, or to not recognize the environmental impacts of this would be a malpractice as far as that's concerned.
for all the countries in the region, but Ukraine offered Russia an energy ceasefire. Ukraine for months has been saying, if Russia will just stop attacking our energy infrastructure, we'll stop attacking their energy infrastructure. And Russia doesn't want to do that. So let's update the bingo board, and we have a
And
new...
we'll go on to Preston's update here, but this is Jake's kind of refinery board that he's got going. So he's marked basically the different refineries that Ukraine has hit, and then if you look closely, you can see the different dates in which that they were hit. A lot of them, like this Volgograd refinery, hit several times. Tuapse refinery has now like its own ridiculous like smoke plume above it for a graphic, kind of detailing the amount and times of which and the effect, the efficacy of the strikes that have been seen on the Tuapse refinery and all the dates in which that it's been hit. You can see here 28/4/2026, updating the last time. But we'll go on here to Preston Stewart, and I'll get you guys out of here afterwards. This is kind of just detailing possible tipping points in the war in Ukraine and what has changed, what we're kind of looking for, and some videos here coming from some of these strikes against some really expensive Russian aircraft and helicopters, I will say. So just a couple minutes of this, and I'll get you guys out of here. We'll start thanking everybody for their the kindness that you guys have shown throughout Venmo, the kindness of people getting merch like this and other fantastic shirts like that. I wish I could have a list of everybody that bought merch every single day, and I would just thank you guys at the end of the night, but fortunately not a possibility. But we go through all of the thank yous that are necessary at the end of the show, everybody that gifted through the YouTube, and again everybody that sent a Venmo in. So stick around, we'll just go through a couple minutes of this. Again, Preston Stewart, this is titled "The Ukraine War Just Reached a Tipping Point," and I am curious what that tipping point is, so let's dive into it.
So the war in Ukraine may have just reached a tipping point. I mean, there are indications in just the past week that the constant degradation of Russia's air defense is finally starting to show. I mean, in the last few days, we've seen Russian helicopters hit on the ground 150 kilometers behind the front, Ukrainian drones hunting the streets of occupied Donetsk city in broad daylight, ships being hit in...
You guys notice anything right there? Huh? You guys notice any movement as far as that's concerned? Let's take that drone flight in again. Let's take that drone flight in again, and let me know if you guys recognize any movement on the top of that helicopter.
Drones hunting the streets of occupied
right
Donetsk
here.
city in broad daylight, ships being hit in port in Crimea, and
And again, as you just heard Preston say, I think he said 150 kilometers behind the front lines. So clearly these aircraft, these helicopters are at a point where maintenance is being done. It pretty much shows that they do not believe that they are in the danger zone, so to speak. They don't believe that they are within, the range of the enemy drones enough where they'd have to have defenses set up or air cover or structures over the aircraft or the helicopters in this case. But this guy's sitting there just doing maintenance out in the open, clearly, recognizing or clearly saying that they believe they're in a safe zone. But Ukraine really rapidly making that not feel like a so safe zone.
Russian oil refineries burning across the country. These are all incredibly valuable targets or locations that Ukraine is seemingly striking at will. So let's get into it. Now, the best way to support the channel is on Substack. That link will be in the description below. And stick around to the end of today's video. We just hit the $1 million mark in fundraising for Ukrainian frontline units, which is absolutely wild and incredible.
How fucking awesome is that, dude? Congratulations to Preston and his channel and everybody, responsible for that. I mean, just like going through it with you guys and how amazing you guys were and raising the nearly $25 or over $25,000, I should say, for a vehicle going to the 72nd Separate Mechanized Brigade in Ukraine. To be involved in a fundraiser where you're raising over $1 million, like Jake, like Preston have been, is just, I don't know, like what that feeling would be like, what an accomplishment that would be, like the effect that you're having on humanity and history at that point. Raising that much money, giving this much, drones or vehicles to the Ukrainian military, like you're having a fucking major impact on where the course of history goes. So it's a real honor and a real privilege to have Preston on May 13th coming up. So, throw that down in your old schedule books, because that's going to be a pretty cool conversation to have, especially after how much we use his videos to kind of get up to speed and up to date on what's taking place in these specific aspects of the front lines in the war in Ukraine.
Estimate to you all. Now, getting started, the Ukrainian Unmanned Systems Forces released this footage a few hours ago, saying operators of the Unmanned Systems Forces struck Mi-8 and Mi-28 helicopters in the Voronezh region. According to objective control data, at the time of the strike, the aircraft were on the ground and likely undergoing maintenance. Enemy personnel, that one guy, like on the helicopter, catches the actual drone. That's, rough day. They say enemy personnel responsible for their operation were nearby. After clarifying the target coordinates, the operators delivered consecutive UAV strikes. As a result of the hits, both targets were struck. The strike was carried out by pilots of the consolidated crews of the 429th Achilles Regiment and the 43rd Separate Artillery Brigade. They say the Mi-8 is a multi-role helicopter used by the enemy for transporting personnel and cargo, as well as providing fire support to units. Estimated cost of one aircraft is at least $6 million. Mi-28 is an attack helicopter designed to engage armored vehicles and manpower. Its armored crew.
And I believe he says that this was in the Voronezh region, if I'm not mistaken. But just to kind of give you an idea of where this strike was, let's just see if we can bring in the old Mapski here. So we're looking at Voronezh, somewhere in the vicinity. Now let's just scroll out. We'll scroll out. We'll scroll out. We'll scroll out. Just giving you an idea of kind of where we're looking here as far as where this is. You can see Kursk up here. We got Sumy. We got Kharkiv down here. I mean, we're talking about a pretty substantial distance behind the lines, and you can definitely tell why the maintenance worker that was working on that, he's looking at it from the Kharkiv region. You know what I mean? So there's a pretty substantial distance behind the lines as to why the maintenance worker thought he may be in a safe territory, but definitely got that Ukrainian drone stuck right up his ass pretty quickly. Oh, let me throw this back on. My apologies. Please.
Allows for it to operate under conditions of intense fire. Estimated cost around $18 million. And when you're looking at this, one thing to keep in mind is the helicopters are set on the ground, undergoing maintenance in an area that they view as safe. Right? You don't conduct helicopter maintenance in an area that's in range of enemy fires. So Ukraine found a gap. Again, I think everything we're looking at today, and we've seen now for a couple of weeks, indicates that the Russian air defense capabilities is becoming more and more depleted. There are more gaps for longer periods of time, and they're likely.
And I think that is the tipping point that we're talking about as far as this war is concerned. And I'm sure there's a lot of tipping points that we could look at as far as casualties, death ratio, territory taken back, detriment to the Russian economy, as well as what we're talking about here. But, as far as the air defenses, the air defense capabilities of the Russians, finally looking like now there's more and more avenues, there's more and more paths for the Ukrainians to exploit. They have more and more drone capabilities to be able to exploit those angles and those different, those spots that they've found to get around the air defenses or to eliminate the air defenses altogether. So, we're talking about momentum going into the spring and summer offensives. This is just another region, another area in this war in which it looks like the Ukrainians have the momentum on their side. And hopefully that is a through line that continues. So appreciate Preston for keeping us up to speed, up to date. I was just curious again as to what the tipping point, the specific tipping point that he was talking about, and like you said, going towards the Russian air defenses, the capabilities that we're now seeing of the Ukrainians to penetrate those air defenses and to strike targets deeper inside of not only Russian occupied Ukraine but also Russia itself. So good on the Ukrainians. Shout out to the Ukrainian military. And, hopefully those capabilities persist. And appreciate Preston for bringing that up and keeping us informed. So when you say we get you guys out of here for the night, we'll start thanking some people for their kind contributions and keeping this channel running, as we do at the end of every single show. Anybody that contributes, anybody that helps us, keep on for another day is going to get a highlight, is going to get spotlighted. We're going to show our appreciation. So starting off tonight on the old Venmo site is Allison. Thank you, Allison, for everything. Very much appreciate you and your kind contributions. Let's see here. Who else? We got Dame. Thank you so much for your contributions, Dame. Dane says, can't send super chat for some reason, but I wanted to tell you today, April 29th, 1945, Dachau was liberated. I recommend everybody watch Brian's video. Great point that you bring up, Dame. Especially in near and dear to my heart. Of course, my passion and love for all things World War II related, and obviously having been to Dachau myself to see firsthand. And feel firsthand basically what is felt when you go into a site like that. I did, in fact, record and make a video, which is what Dame is referring to here. Very much appreciate you, Dame, for bringing that up. But you can check back. I can do a search through my YouTube page. Basically, you can type in Dachau, and that video will be brought up, and you'll be able to watch that. But it basically just follows me through my tour of the Dachau concentration camp in Dachau, Germany. So very much appreciate that for Dame bringing that up, and also your kind contributions. Thank you very much for what you do. Let's see here, Allison. I forgot. She says, "Let's fucking go" with a lobster in the heart. I very much appreciate that. Let's see here. Who else we got? Oh my goodness. Thank you, Geneva. Good Lord, Geneva. Thank you so much for your contribution. She says, love the Ukraine content and the humor you bring to your show. Thank you. No, Geneva, thank you so much. Geneva H. Very much appreciate that. That is a very substantial and kind contribution that will do a lot and go a long way to help this show stay on the air. So that's very much appreciated. W's to Allison, Damon, Geneva, and also Tom, our good friend, the altar boy down there. Keep on keeping on, brother, he says. You too, Tom. Thank you so much for that substantial and very kind contribution, as always. Thank you so much to Victoria over the last couple days. Victoria, Cedri, thank you so much for your kind contribution. Thank you so much to Mark. Thank you so much to Roxanne. Thank you to Yakov, excuse me. Thank you so much to Claudia. Thank you to Geneva again. Nina C. Thank you so much. Roger C. V. Sawyer. You guys are just amazing. Kristen. Thank you, Kristen D. All of your help and support and assistance does go a really long way, because we try to do this the independent way. No financial backers, sponsors, or people that contribute to this show. Everything is done by us, for us, and with us here at Blunt Politics. So thank you guys for supporting the way you guys do. Really, really appreciative of that, as you continue to be the best chat on the social media space. I can tell you that much. But let's get into thanking some people over here on YouTube, and then I'll get you guys out of here for the evening. All right. So Jin, appreciate you, brother. America 250 from from George Washington says, quote, "I cannot tell a lie to DJT. Quiet Piggy. Pope Leo is weak on crime. I'm not a PDF file, and I didn't rape anybody." So what's that? The quotes from Donald Trump as far as the 250th birthday of America is concerned. That's what's going to go down in the history books. Unbelievable. Some of the things that he's like. Again, the books that are going to be written and should be written already at this point are going to be numerous. Let's just say that. But Jeff, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for everything that you always do. W's Jeff in the chat, as far as well as everybody else too. So thank you, Stoneflower Dragon. Keg's Breath being so Blondie-esque. Yeah, Pam Blondie, right? So it's the same thing that you see from all these people. They'll get fucking trapped in a corner. Next thing you know, the only thing they have to go back to is Joe Biden. The only thing they have to go back to is Democrats and this and that and the bullshit elections. It's all nonsense, but they all have the same fucking the same switch in their brain that makes them automatically go back to the same talking points. Appreciate you bringing that up and pointing that out, Stoneflower Dragon. Love seeing you in the chat, as always. Hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you so much to Frank. Thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate that. The $2 contribution. Very, very much appreciative of that. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much to Ricky. Nice $10 contribution. Thank you so much. Shout out to you. Looks like little Kegs isn't getting our money's worth in his personal makeup studio in the Pentagon. He has a slight yellow waxy hue, or maybe it's my TV. No, I think you were spot on, Ricky, as far as that's concerned. That's what happens when you're trying to shake off a 48-hour Coke bender. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you, Ricky. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you, Wes. As always, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, Wes says. I appreciate that reminder, Wes. Thank you for keeping the chat involved. Thank you for your kind contributions. Always good to see you at the Zooms, my friend. Hope you're having a great night. Thank you, Ricky, again for the 5 gifted memberships. Shout out to Ricky. Very much appreciate that. 5 fantastic people in that chat now going to get a month-long membership right here at Blunt Politics. For less than a gallon of gas, you can also sign up for a membership just below me. That's all you got to do is just below me. Look at that thing just underneath me, and you can click on that, and it'll allow you to sign up for a membership. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Nola. Nola put in $5. Thank you so much for that. Says, you make me laugh. I try sometimes. Whether you're laughing at me or with me is a question to be answered. I'm not really sure at this point, but however I can make you laugh, I'm happy to do so. So I appreciate that. Thank you for at least confirming at some point I can do that. But I appreciate that, Nola. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ricky, again. Way to go. Slava Ukraina. Heroyam Slava. Right back to you, Ricky. Thank you so much for that support. Thank you to Jimmy Two Soups. Your Russian accent is killing me. I appreciate it. Sorry. I don't know where I pulled that one out of. I'm not sure I pulled that one out of. Typically, I resort back to a Scottish accent. Like if I get like pinned down, like when Pete Hegseth is getting questioned in the corner, like somehow I revert back to Scottish every single time. So I'm glad I could make it through. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Jimmy. Thank you so much for the $2 contribution. Appreciate you being here, my friend. Thank you to Yakov. Thank you so much. Universal hello to everyone. I was at the park with my son. Hope you guys had a fabulous time. Shout out to Yakov. Shout out to Yakov and his son. Please relay the hellos. Very much appreciative of you guys and everything that you do for the show. So I hope you have a good night. Thank you so much to Soak and Deb. Appreciate you. Thank you for the $5 contribution. Shout out to you. Can we get Jake back on to talk about how much the Russians are benefiting from the oil and sanction relief? Is it really helping Putin to stay in power? Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to reach out again. Again, I try not to bother a lot of these people too frequently. You know what I mean? I know they got a lot of things going on with their own campaigns, their own shows, and their own lives. We'll have, like I said, Preston Stewart on May 13th. We just had Jake on not that long ago, but I can absolutely reach out. More than happy to have Jake on the show whenever he's available. I appreciate you reaching out, Deb. Appreciate the idea. Thank you so much for your kind contribution. Thank you, JD, tonight. Siempre antifascista. As always, JD going right in the swear jar. We love you. We appreciate you. We respect you. Thank you so much for your contributions. As always, Yakov, once again, from Mrs. Penguin 8978. Well, I appreciate that, Mrs. Penguin 8978. But it looked like this is, what are you guys, going back and forth? Yeah. What is this? You guys buying each other drinks? I appreciate it. One's from Yakov, from Mrs. Penguin. The other one's from Mrs. Penguin, but from Yakov. Go figure. I appreciate, love, and respect you both. Thank you guys so much for your kind contributions. And thank you so much, Jenny Faye, for rounding it off tonight. Thank you for 19 months of loyalty. Love having you around, my friend. Love our discussions and the Zooms. Love our friendship. I couldn't thank you enough. I can't show enough appreciation to you and all of you guys that have helped me out along the way. 19 and counting. Love you, Brian, mods, and chat. That is reciprocated. That is very much mutual. Jenny Faye, right back at you. And I think it's another great show tonight. Blunt Politics having another fucking explosive show here, and I appreciate you guys for sticking with me. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Again, we're trying to get to 20K. Would be a great milestone to achieve before midterms. I think that would be able to allow us to throw a little bit more weight behind our punches with the guests that we're able to get. Also with like the dust we're able to kick up with our rhetoric, with our opinions. Hopefully the clips start making the rounds and stuff like that. So I'll let you guys go for the evening. I love you. I respect you. Each and every one of you has done a lot to help this show in many different ways, and I hope you know that I appreciate it. I really, really do. So hit that like button on the way out. Stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive, but keep your head on a goddamn swivel, okay? Make sure you're staying safe out there. Make sure you have an exit route plan. Make sure you have some friends with you, but make sure you are getting out there, saying the facts, staying loud, staying proud. Don't let anybody silence you. Don't let anybody keep you quiet. And again, welcome to the opposition. Welcome to the resistance. I love you, and I'll see you. What's today? Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow for the Thursday show, all right? Thank you, guys. Oh, I know, Yakov. I'm kidding. I was joking. I got that much. No, I appreciate you for making everybody else aware as well. But I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do. And I'll see you tomorrow. I will definitely extend the love to Pops, Dame. Appreciate you, my brother. Thank you to the mods for everything that you guys always do, whether that's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, or Substack. From Alyosha to Tiff, to Adam, to Yakov, to Rox, all of you guys, to Jen. All of you guys have been helpful, fantastic, and very supportive, and I hope that is reciprocated. So I'll see you tomorrow, all right? Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. And yeah, I think that's about it. I think we covered all the bases, all right? See you tomorrow. Appreciate you. Love you. Now, we don't want to have to ban anybody, Marie. Definitely don't want to have to ban anybody.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Inviting Americans from all across the country to come.
Here's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls.
God bless the United States. The undisputed champion of beautiful, clean coal. Somebody said, is that a Trump statement or is that real? For minors, do we love minors? I love minors. It's a new form of vicious violation to our country. To officially name the undisputed.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
I'm standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis.
You'll have a group of Venezuelan killers, street gangs, occupying the town with MK-47s. I know that gun very well. I got to know it very well. I've become an expert on guns. Water coming here is dead.
White people are a mortal danger to you and your loved ones.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful love. Give yourselves a round of applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely. Where you going? Nowhere.
I'm just an average guy who read public documents where the elite said they were going to enslave us and destroy America. And I'm not going to be like yuppie scum and deny the threat to my country. I'm going to fight back.
Cacophony, a crescendo, a finale, a coup de grace.
Referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small.
Always calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me, he's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2".
Hey, you got a little chubby going there.
Builds the wall the way he built Trump Towers. We'll be using illegal.
Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Yes, of course, hence the name. Movement, it moves a certain distance, then it stops, you see. Revolution gets its name by always coming back around in your face. You tried to kill me, you son of a bitch. So welcome to the revolution.
Brian, you're drunk. You're drunk.
The big, fat, sloppy United States.